Call the meeting to order, the Trenton Board of Education, April 27, 2026, 5:30 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please.
Gerald Trueheart.
Present.
Denise Johnson.
Present.
Jean Bowie.
Present.
Addie Daniels Lane.
Present.
Austin Edwards.
Present.
Yolanda Lopez.
Present.
Larry Traylor.
Present.
Jeannie Weeklam.
Present.
Danelli DeLeon.
Present.
Kamaya Long. Oscar Santos. We have a quorum.
All right, great. New Jersey Sunshine Law. New Jersey Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted on. On the rules of this act, the Trenton Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting by publicizing the date, time, and place, therefore posted on the district website, the Times, the Star Ledger, and the Trenton Journal. Formal action will take place at this meeting. Our mission statement: all students will graduate with the vision for the future, motivated to learn continually, and prepared to succeed in their choice of college or career. Motion to adopt the agenda. Probably moved and seconded. Roll call.
Gerald Trueheart.
Yes.
Denise Johnson.
Yes.
Jean Bowie.
Yes.
Addie Daniels Lane.
Yes.
Austin Edwards.
Yes.
Yolanda Lopez.
Yes.
Larry Traylor.
Yes.
Jeannie Weeklam.
Yes.
Danelli DeLeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Superintendent.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome on this spring evening. So just wanted a few announcements. New Jersey NJSLS testing is happening for the next month. We announce this and we share it out often just so that our parents and families know how important it is. It's crucial that students are in schools taking the assessment. This helps us determine any areas where they may need support, but also to extend learning opportunities for students. So please help us. If you're around young people that you know are not getting to school, let us know so that we can get them here, so that we can get them involved in that process to help learning. Also, we had a great evening last Tuesday with families and staff members around strategic planning. For those of you who may have heard or you've seen the broadcast or the flyers come out, it's a great opportunity because we're talking about what we will do in district over the next 3 to 5 years. So it's important to hear your voice. In particular, parents and students, we'd love for you to join us so we can hear about what you feel should be included in that plan. So please join us. Our next meeting, we will continue to promote. Our next meeting is May 19th. We're at Trenton Central High School in the cafeteria. Please hit the link and fill out the form, the questionnaire, so that we get your information and we can add you to the list. But please join us if you want to share in planning the next goals over the next 5 years. So today, we have the pleasure of experiencing the incredible talents of the students of Jefferson Intermediate School, featuring performances by students in grade 4 through 6. This showcase is a testament of the dedication, creativity, and excellence cultivated within the school community. Under the direction of Miss Marissa Medina, our band will demonstrate their musical skill and collaboration. Our choir, led by Mr. Stephen Murdian, will share the power of student voice through song. The energy and expression of dance will be brought to life by our 6th grade students under the guidance of Ms. Tamaris Moore and Ms. Maria Brando. This remarkable work is made possible through the leadership of Dr. Nadia Ramcharan and Vice Principal Dr. Olmeda, whose commitment to fostering arts, innovation, and student excellence continues to shine through in every aspect of the Jefferson community. Please join me in celebrating the students and students of Jefferson Intermediate School. Welcome.
All right. Thank you very much. Very good. All right, we are going to sing Lift Every Voice. If everybody could please rise.
Every voice There was a time where freedom felt like a distant dream. It was something that people whispered about, but they were too afraid to say out loud. Hope had to hide in the dark. Even believing in something better could get you killed.
Standing up was not simple. It meant risking your safety, your family, and even sometimes your life. They told us to stay quiet. They told us that silence was safer than speaking the truth.
They wanted us to lower our eyes and bow our heads. They wanted us to feel small and powerless. They put chains on our hands and feet, but the heaviest chain was to silence our souls.
But deep inside, something refused to stay silent. There was a fire that could not get put out. There was a heartbeat that would not slow down. It kept whispering we were made for more.
Some people refuse to give up their seeds. Some people refuse to give up their seed. That becomes a spirit that lit our movement.
And one stood up. It may be small, but it changed everything. And I know I stood beside them, and suddenly courage didn't feel so lonely at all.
Because courage spread from heart to heart. When one person rise, others remember they could rise too.
Every breath became defiance. Every voice declared that we matter.
We carry the strength within us.
We honor that courage. We refuse to stay silent.
Did every rise?
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. Early in the morning, before the sun begins to shine, we're gonna start moving towards that separating line. I'm wading through muddy waters. You know I got a made up mind. And I don't mind if I lose any blood on the way to salvation. And I fight with the strength that I got until I die. So I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. And I know what's around the bend might be hard to face 'cause I'm alone. And I just might fail, but Lord knows I'll try. Shine stars fill up the sky. Stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling,
Morning Jaguars. Today on the news, we'll be talking to some of the students from Thomas Jefferson Intermediate School about some African Americans who made strides in their community, like Elijah J. McCoy. He was born in 1844. He was born in Canada. His parents escaped slavery. He was a mechanic engineer. In America, they will not hire him as an engineer because he was black. He worked on trains as a firefighter. He made a special oil. He invented a better lubricant oil for steam engines. He made his invention work. People called it the real McCoy. He had over 50 licenses. Now we will be talking to Andre. Today we will be talking about George Crumb. George Crumb was born in July 15, 1824. George Crumb died in July 22nd, 1914. Also called George Speck. He was a cook. He worked in a restaurant. He liked to cook food. He invented potato chips in 1853. Today we'll be interviewing Javier McCargo. Who are we talking about today?
Charles Bailiff.
What did he do?
He invented the shampoo headrest.
What is a shampoo headrest?
A thing where you go to the barbershop to get your hair cut. Before you get your hair cut, you lay down on the shampoo headrest to get your hair washed, and then you get your hair cut.
Hi, we researched the top 10 STEM.
Historically black colleges and universities.
Also known as HBCUs.
Howard University.
Norfolk State University.
Morgan State University.
Valley State University.
Jackson State University.
Alabama State University.
Alabama A&M University.
North Carolina A&T State University. Prairie View A&M University. We focus on 4 important data points.
Tuition.
Tuition is the cost to attend a college.
Student to faculty ratio.
The student to faculty ratio shows how many students there are per every one professor.
SAT scores. The SAT is a college entry exam.
Acceptance rates. Acceptance rate is a percentage of students that a college admits out of everyone who applies.
We researched the HBCUs and put all of our findings into a shared numbers document.
Then we studied the data and recorded our observations.
This is what we learned.
We found out the higher the acceptance rate, the lower the SAT score. The lower the acceptance rate, the higher the SAT score.
For example, Florida A&M University has the lowest acceptance rate and one of the highest SAT scores. Which means Florida A&M is a competitive school. We found out college is expensive. Jackson State University has the lowest tuition at $13,635 per year.
We found out that Howard University costs the most to attend at $39,000.
But you can apply for many different scholarships.
Looking at all this data together helps students decide which college might be the best fit.
Thank you. That was, you want to say it? That was fantastic. So the song is still ringing in my head, and so it was great to see the art and the students expressing themselves. So thank you so much, Dr. Ramcharan and the team at Jefferson. What an exciting day to start this meeting.
Can I just say something?
Sure, yes.
This presentation, along with the one last month, I think we really have to get these kids down in Atlantic City in October. Whoever go about, we have to showcase this to other people.
We can apply, yeah. Okay.
You know,
all right.
We can do it.
She's talking about at the New Jersey School Boards Conference, many other districts will bring students to present and showcase, and she's suggesting that we take some of ours. So we will take that into consideration in October. It's late October of every school year that we go there. All of us go to participate, and we see students from other districts go to share their talents. So it'll be a great opportunity for Trenton students to attend and participate. So next, we're going to hear from our student board representatives. So I'll turn the floor over to you.
Good evening, President Trueheart, Superintendent Earl, and members of the board. I am Kamaya Long. I am president of TCHS Student Government Organization, and I am pleased to be here before you today to give a few announcements regarding Trenton Public Schools. To start, I would like to thank and commend the students of Jefferson Intermediate School for their performance. It is truly refreshing to see younger students participating and doing things like this. Now for announcements, I would like to address a few concerns regarding the cell tower being implemented near Trenton Central High School. I, as well as other students and staff, believe we weren't notified about what was happening at the school, nor were we asked if there were any concerns, as people are worried about their safety and health, which should always be taken seriously. In fact, one of our representatives from student government, Makai Bellamy, attended the meeting regarding the cell tower after school to raise a few questions of his own, such as why weren't staff and students notified, where exactly will the cell tower be placed, and how safe is this tower to medical conditions, cancer, etc. We will be talking to him tomorrow to discuss what he gathered at the meeting. On a higher note, Take Your Child to Work Day was a success, with the children who attended enjoying their time with their parents.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Oscar Santos. I am the vice president of Trenton Center High School Student Government Association. I just wanted to start by saying the New Voice performance on Friday was terrific. The students did an outstanding job. I also want to share an exciting opportunity coming up. The junior class presents A Night in Vegas. This event will feature a red carpet entrance, a 360 photo booth, food, games, and much more. It's a great way for students to come together, celebrate, and create lasting memories. To help sponsor the event and support these students, I'd like to ask if you consider making a donation. Any contribution will help cover costs and ensure more students can participate. Thank you.
Can you just repeat what the donation's for so that we can record it? We want to donate.
Sorry. It's to help sponsor the junior class. We have a semi-formal coming up.
Okay.
So we will benefit a lot from if there was any donations.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to our student reps. Great presentation, and we appreciate you being here. It's important that we have a student voice here in our board meetings to share your voices with us so we can take things under consideration and make updates and changes as we can do so according to our policies and board regulations. And so we appreciate you being here and look forward to you coming back each and every board meeting to share your thoughts and any updates from the City of Trenton Public Schools for the students representative. Thank you so much. Board, I need to amend the agenda to move public participation up before our performances, before our presentations. May I have a motion first to move it?
Second.
First and second, roll call.
Cheryl Trueheart.
Yes.
Denise Johnson.
Yes.
Jean Bowie.
Yes.
Addie Daniels-Lane.
Yes.
Austin Edwards.
Yes.
Yolanda Lopez.
Yes.
Larry Traylor.
Yes.
Jeannie Weeklam.
Yes.
Danelli De Leon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, we will now have public participation. Laura Emmerich. Okay, Laura Emmerich's not here. Monifa Banks Harrison. Okay.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Monifa Banks Harrison, and I live at 732 Greenwood Avenue in the city of Trenton. I'm a taxpayer, a homeowner, a voter who votes in every election, and a teacher of both AP Language and Composition and 10th grade English at Trenton Central High School. My AP students have been studying King, Thoreau, Bryan Stevenson, and Padilla Peralta in an extended unit on justice. And I realize that I can't sit idly by and not say anything while I'm teaching my students to speak up in the face of injustice. I am concerned about the construction of the 150-foot tower on the property of Trenton Central High School. Moreover, this project has been marshaled through very quickly with very little input from city residents and Trenton Central High School staff. Today, I, along with members of school leadership team, met with representatives from Rise Up, the contractor of record, Mr. Mosley, and Superintendent Earl, which I'm very thankful that we had the opportunity to have that meeting. However, there remain questions regarding this project. During Douglas H. Palmer's tenure, I served as the Director of Housing Inspections and assistant to the construction official. In that role, I was responsible for the revision and enforcement of various codes like the city's housing and zoning code, landlord licensing, et cetera. I also assisted in the revision of the city's demolition specifications and all hazard mitigation plan, which required me to work closely with representatives from both FEMA and the EPA. I mention this because over the last few weeks, I have been very surprised to learn that the aforementioned 150-foot cellular tower was approved by the zoning board to be less than 80 foot from the communication SLC entrance at Trenton Central High School. While most health guidelines suggest that towers of this magnitude be placed 500 meters from a property, the city's zoning code protects property and mandates that the towers be far enough away from the building as it is tall, which would mean that the structure should be 150 feet away, not 80. The city's zoning board granted the variance to permit the tower to be erected because they were told that if the relocation of the cellular tower, which presently sits atop the soon-to-be demolished St. Francis Hospital, does not take place, then the entire area would be without cell service to access 911. I find this hard to believe. When I worked for the city and worked on the city's all-hazard mitigation plan, I learned that it is important when undertaking a project like this to mitigate hazards in advance. While the potential health hazards seem to be inconclusive at this time, and we won't know what they are for a number of years, we do know that the potential for property damage is great. which is why the intent of the zoning code is to ensure that the potential for damage to the property and disruption to the school day must be abated by placing it either not on our property or further away from our building, so that if the tower fails or is affected by extreme weather patterns, which we've been seeing a lot of lately in the last several years, then the school day and our students will not be affected, because every minute matters, right? As a homeowner who lives only a block away from the school, I am concerned about how the value of my property will be affected by this mammoth structure. I would like to request the opportunity to see if we might be able to explore other possible locations of this tower that would be further away from our building and not visible from the front of the building to maintain the aesthetic that we sought when we originally designed this building. What concerns me most is ensuring that our students are safe and that in haste, we are not making decisions that can negatively affect us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Monifa. John Forte, School Leadership Team, Trenton Central High School.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Superintendent Earl, thank you for inviting the school leadership team to meet with Mr. Mike Malloy of Rise Up Towers today. We really appreciate that opportunity. I just want to second a few things that Monifa Harrison, my colleague, had to say. I think she summarized a lot of the issues really well. First, just to second, collaboration. I think that we have some great district initiatives regarding more input from the community and staff members and students. And I think that this would have been a great opportunity, the construction of this cell phone tower, to get more input. Also, the labor management collaboration as part of it is bringing the Trenton Education Association into this process. So my big concern today from the meeting was regarding safety concerns. As Monifa stated, I think some of the health concerns are inconclusive either way regarding the cell phone tower. But I do think that is the problem, is that if the health concerns are inconclusive, why are we willing to take a risk with staff and students? The one primary example here was we asked about the environmental and health reports that were done by Mr. Mike Malloy with Rise Up Towers. And these were asked for, I think, last Tuesday at the last meeting we had. Today, we still did not receive them. When asked about them, Mr. Mike Malloy's response was, "That is not my responsibility to tell you guys," which was not a great response from a company we're expecting to take safety precautions with staff and students. Countries such as Italy and Greece have banned or restricted cell phone towers near schools. And again, just more importantly, if we don't know some of the health and safety risks, because studies on both sides have kind of outweighed each other, I think that it might not be a good idea to press forward so quickly. Which brings me to the last point of just, I think the project is being pushed forward too quickly without enough input, without enough time for staff and community and students to buy into the project, to look at some of these health and safety and environmental concerns, so that we can be as confident as possible about using that money towards our school, which again is only $40,000, right? A drop in the bucket towards the overall school budget of over $500 million, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. But I think that, again, the safety of students and staff and the community should be the primary concern here. Thank you.
Mr. Haig? Hawk? Mr. Hawk? My apologies, Mr. Hawk.
Good afternoon, board members. Thank you for having me. Community, I'm going to be speaking about the same thing, the concerns about the towers that's going to be erected on the property of Trenton Central High School. So I just want to speak briefly about responsibility and how we make decisions that affect students, employees, and neighborhoods. Many people, and I make a lot of references to movies because I find many connections in movies. So if you're familiar with the movie, that's great. So many people are familiar with the movie A Few Good Men. In it, 2 Marines, Lance Corporal Dawson and Private First Class Downing, are charged with killing a fellow soldier. They don't deny what they did. Their defense is very simple. They were following orders. The film forces the viewer to confront a difficult question. When does obedience end and personal responsibility begin? That question is not just cinematic, but historical. In history, it was faced during Nuremberg trials after World War II. Defendants often argued that they were just following orders. The court rejected it and rejected their defense, ruling that if a moral choice was possible, individuals were responsible for their actions. Authority does not erase conscience. So that principle matters well beyond military history, and it applies in systems built on rules, procedures, and hierarchy, including public education. School districts operate under state guidance, federal regulations, and technical compliance standards. These structures are necessary, but compliance alone has never been the same as care. Being allowed to do something is not the same as being obligated to proceed without reflection. A current example illustrates this well: the placement of this large cell phone tower on our property and near homes, right? But mainly on our property of TCHS. Federal regulators maintain the proximity to cell towers is safe under existing exposure limits. At the same time, many experts and studies recommend additional caution. And this goes back to what both Ms. Harrison and Mr. Forte was talking about. Some suggest maintaining a distance of approximately 300 to 500 meters, roughly 1,300 to 1,600 feet from large towers to reduce potential exposure to radio frequency radiation, and many residents prefer buffers around 1,500 feet or more, citing peace of mind, potential symptoms such as headaches, and long-term concerns, including property values. The issue is uncertainty. As science continues to evolve, communities are often told this meets that standard or this complies with this regulation, but standards typically represent minimum requirements, not best practices. When decisions affect children, families, employees, and neighborhood trust, the question should not only be what is permitted, but what is prudent. The Marines and a few good men equated loyalty and unquestionable obedience. The Nuremberg trial taught us that moral responsibility remains even within a rigid system. Today's school boards, like yourselves, are faced with your own versions of these decisions. Of course, it's far less dramatic, but it still has deep consequences, right? So do we rely solely on compliance with, what they're telling us, or do we engage in best judgment? Do we defer responsibility upward, or do we take ownership of the impacts of our decisions may have on students and employees and the community? So education is much, much more than just instruction. It's about modeling decision-making and values. When students see adults thoughtfully weighing risk, asking hard questions, and prioritizing well-being, they learn what responsible citizenship looks
Mr. Hall,
like.
you have 1 minute.
No problem. The enduring lesson from history and from everyday community experience is simple. Being told something is acceptable does not relieve us from the responsibility to do what we think is right. So I'm going to leave you with this. The bottom line is accountability. Who's going to be accountable when 5 years, 10 years down the road, we find out that proximity has impacted our students? Who's going to be held responsible? And are they going to be held liable for it? And I don't know if that's going to be the board or the company or whom it may be. So just something to ponder. Thank you.
Cecil Williams. Labor's Local number 77. Cecil Williams from Labor's Local number 77.
All right, good evening, members of the board and superintendent. My name is Cecil Williams, and I have lived in Trenton for 50 years. I grew up in Trenton and attended school here as a child. Today, I'm raising my family in Trenton and have spent more than 50 years building deep roots in the community. I am also a proud member of Lyuna Local 77 for 27 years of experience in construction industry. I'm here tonight not just as a worker, but as your neighbor. A career in the trades with Local 77 changed my life. It gave me access to quality health, care, and fair and livable wages, the ability to buy a home, and the opportunity to retire with dignity. There is dignity and success in a union career, but not every employer creates the same opportunities for Trenton residents. There is unfortunately too much exploitation in the construction industry. Many non-union employers steal and put workers in danger. Young people in Trenton deserve the opportunities I have had with Local 77. It is how kids like me, I'm 60 years old, who are good with their hands can access careers and build the sort of generational wealth that lifts up Trenton. When we work on these projects, we aren't just labor. We are parents. Those kids sit in these classrooms. We are folks who sat in these classrooms ourselves. We have a vested interest in the quality of the work. I urge this board to exercise its authority to thoroughly review every bidder and to implement a project labor agreement that guarantees public work in Trenton is built by local hands for fair wages. Don't settle for the lowest bidder if they are the lowest road for our community. Thank you. I'm actually working on the St. Francis project too now. Thank you.
Mr. Charles Norwood. Sergio Sanchez Cardona.
Get down a little bit. Oh, shoot. Good evening, board. My name is Sergio Sanchez. I'm a field representative with the Labor's Local 77. I represent a wide variety of ranges from Middlesex County to Cape May County. But today we're here to speak about Trenton. We have a strong base, skilled, qualified workers who reside in the city. People who are really and willing and ready to go to work. These are individuals who live here, raise their families here, and contribute to the communities. Our position is simple. Local work should benefit local people. When projects are built in Trenton, especially those supported by public funding, we believe the economic impact should stay right here in the city. Putting Trenton residents to work means those wages go back to local businesses, local neighbors, and local communities, overgrowing. This isn't just jobs, it's just reinvestment, stability, long-term opportunities for people who call Trenton home. We stand ready to be partners in making this happen. Our goal is to help contact these opportunities with local workforce and ensure that Trenton projects to build are just make the community stronger. So I ask you guys, if you guys are willing to take any meetings with us regarding any future developments project, we're realistically just trying to put local residents in the community, work apprenticeship programs, give people an opportunity to grow in communities, right? Could I leave my business card for anybody or? Okay, you'll take it? All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Jason Lee. Okay. Jonathan Puebla. Jonathan? No, Jonathan? All right. That ends this portion of our board meeting for public participation. Last month, we announced the renegotiation of our superintendent's contract. We announced that we would have our public hearing. Today is that public hearing. At the subsequent board meeting, last board meeting, we made that announcement. During the process from that time, we've renegotiated our superintendent's contract, and now is the time for a public hearing on the contract. So this is an opportunity for the community to speak in regards to our superintendent's contract. Mr. Roll is going to give an update on the superintendent's contract at this time.
Yeah. So last Friday, the board successfully renegotiated the contract with the superintendent. And the law requires that before the board is able to take action on that contract, that we have a public hearing. So this is that public hearing. So for all you guys participating, Superintendent Earl agreed to a contract that takes him through 2031. So the contract will be amended to run from 2026 to 2031. The only relevant changes are the years, as I just stated, and the starting salary, which is $287,000. That salary was done by way of comparison with about 5 or 6 other districts similar to ours, and the contract was approved by the county superintendent on Friday. And again, we have to have this public hearing before the board can take action on it. Are there any questions from the public about the contract? Anybody who wishes to speak about the amendment to the superintendent's contract? You got to abstain from the vote.
Hussein Haq again. I just want to say I think that that's awesome because I work closely with Mr. Earl with the labor management collaboration, and I think that with his presence there, I think it's going in the correct direction for our district. So congratulations.
Anyone else?
Need a motion to approve the amendment to the superintendent's contract?
So moved. Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Roll call.
Joe Trueheart.
Yes.
Denise Johnson.
Yes.
Jean Bowie.
Yes.
Addie Daniels Lane.
Yes.
Austin Edwards.
Yes.
Yolanda Lopez.
Yes.
Larry Trailer.
Yes.
Jeannie Weeklam.
Abstain.
Danelli De Leon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Mr. Superintendent, we now have our presentations at this time, sir.
Turn it. That work better? Or you want to go that way?
Oh, I thought you were gonna, oh, okay. Yes. Can you guys see me? Yeah, just wanted to make sure. Okay. Okay, good. Good evening, Board President Trueheart, board members, superintendent, and the public. We're very excited to be here today to go over our 26-27 budget. We feel as though it was a long process, but we achieved our goal, which is to ensure that our students had a thorough and efficient education. Our budget was published in the Trenton Times, the Star Ledger, and on the webpage. We also have a copy in the back for everyone to take a look at, and you have a copy on the dais, so you can really look at what goes into the budget, how many components it is, and how we really, really have to work hard, as Mr. Earl said in our strategic plan meeting to make sure we hit every component. Our mission statement, which is our guide, was read previously by our board president, so we won't go over that again. But our district priorities are very important. Student achievement, parent, community partnership, engagement, developing the whole child, staff development and well-being, and facilities infrastructure. Now, we know we are in the process of creating and revising our strategic plan to 2031, I believe. Yeah, but the components will probably be the same, and we're just probably going to just tweak them a little. Our budget calendar. This is, like I said, a very long process. We started this in October, right? So October of 26, we'll be starting again for 27, 28. But when you look at that, the budget begins when the budget calendar is prepared, because that is our roadmap, and you should follow everything on that calendar. So we go over that with our operations committee, which is chaired by Mr. Gene Bowie. Then we go over it with the leadership, and we have a lot of conversations on what are our non-negotiables, what are we looking for within this budget that we can ensure will give our students what we're trying to give them, which is a thorough and efficient education. After we look at that, we look at all of our negotiations. What are our other obligations? What are our fixed costs? What are our housing health benefits, which went up 31%? So after we looked at all of that and we come together with a mock budget, we then look at, okay, what's going to be our guidance? What will we roll out to our principals and to our leadership team to ensure that they give Mr. Earl and I a thorough budget that our principals then can follow, and then the principals meet with their leadership team, and they should be preparing the budget together. It's not prepared by the business office. I know a lot of guys think that we go into a little room and prepare budgets. We do not. They are prepared by the schools and central leadership. Then it comes to the principals meeting with the superintendent and leadership to go over their budgets. And that was a great process this year because the principals really had to know what was included in that budget. They did curricular audits. They did inventory audits. We looked at facilities. So we really took a look at everything. So by the time we start preparing our budget and really looking at how it would go into the state system, we were pretty much there instead of having to go over all of these variances, because if you're over 4%, you have to explain why. Now we're where we are today, which is our public hearing, because the county approved the budget, the county superintendent, the county BA. Now it's up to you to adopt the budget. Now I'm sure I went over the budget with you guys in detail, and as you can see, it was a little more difficult than usual because we didn't know what our amount would be. So now we know we received $23.9 million, but our charter schools took $8 million of that. So that's like, what, 16 that we received, but we were able to still be able to meet our obligations. When I say obligations, I mean some of our past and some of our future obligations that we have to come together and have a budget that we think our public, our students, and you will be proud and approve that budget. Now, this is one half of the budget process, right? It's planning, preparation, and adoption, which is today. And the other half is implementation, which after it's approved, it will go into our financial system. Next, it will be evaluated and monitored by our accountants along with our principals, and then we'll start the process again. Because if we don't monitor our budgets, how will we know where we are, right? It's like if you have a navigation system, you don't know where you're going, it's going to take you anywhere, right? So we have that system, and we're trying to make sure that we keep moving forward, because as the money is less and less and less, we have to figure out ways to look at things differently, right? Look at things like a scientist will look at them. Say how we can not say no to everything. I know I'm the queen of no, but how we can say yes to some things, but still be within compliance. That's the difficult challenge. Our budget priorities, they must reflect our mission statement in our strategic plan. Maintain as many existing programs and services as possible. Continue to provide our academic program that meets the mandates of New Jersey student learning standards. Continue to review, revise curricula. I know Joanne Masung is happy to see this, to ensure alignment with state requirements and meet all contractual salary and benefit obligations. This is very important. Next is our budget goals. Focus on ensuring every possible dollar is invested in our student diverse needs. That's goal 1 through 5. Empower staff members to grow through focused professional development, which is goal 4. Thoughtful realignment and reallocation of resources, that could be goal 1 through 5. Continue focus on security, building infrastructure, and continue identifying efficiency improvements, which is very important because that's how we will continue that cycle and continue to ensure that we can generate revenue. Ms. Mitchell will come up and she will talk about where does revenue come from and where does revenue go. So if you can come up here. Which button is this, Jane?
Good evening, Board President Trueheart, board members, Superintendent Earl, district staff, and community stakeholders and parents. It's an honor and a privilege to present today. I'm Sean Mitchell. I'm the Assistant Business Administrator, and it's, like I said, an honor and privilege to present along with Ms. Howard and Dwayne Mosley this evening. So what we're going to go through here on the next few slides is to discuss the revenue and the expenditures and the grants and do an overall breakdown of that. Okay, so the first one here is our state aid comparison from 25-26, our current year, to what we're projecting for next year, 26-27. Overall, the state aid increase is 6%. I'm drawing you to the bottom line, and then the breakdown is the 4 different revenue sources. The equalization aid is where most of the increase was from, about close to the 6%, 5.9, 21 million from current year, 370 million to 391 million. Special education aid increased by 8.8 at 1.5. Transportation aid at 1.4, about 64, it's close to 65,000. And our security aid increased by about $500,000, which resulted in a 6.7% increase. Overall state aid, 6%. Okay, so here, this is our general revenue 2-year comparison. So our state aid numbers are in here. We went over that on the previous slide. That's the second or the third column from the bottom. So if you look overall here, our overall budget for next year is $535 million. A majority of that is our state aid, but we're gonna go from top to bottom. We start off with our excess fund balance, which was covered in a few meetings ago with our auditor. And that's always what's left over in excess of our 2% from the previous year. So in the current year, we're working with an excess fund balance of $15 million. What was left over from our 24-25 budget was $26 million, and that's what we have to budget for next year's budget. So that's an $11 million difference, about 74%. So adjustment for prior year encumbrances, you don't see that number yet for 26-27 because that's not determined until the end of this year. What that is are all of our encumbrances that don't finish off within that year that are going to carry into the next year. Those are not liabilities, non-liabilities, but they're incurred for encumbrances for prior year, which means the work hasn't taken place, but the commitment is there. So a majority of that $33 million are our facilities projects. So we will have a number for 26-27, but that won't be determined until the end of this fiscal year. So then we're moving on to our local tax levy, which is what our city of Trenton contributes to the district, which is a 2% increase. This year is $25.7 million. Next year, about a $500,000 increase to $26 million. Our Medicaid reimbursement, SEMI, that is a number that's given to us from the state when we're building the budget. We're actually informed what that number is. So that's why you see that it's a drastic difference, but there was a difference in what we were instructed to budget for. So our miscellaneous revenues, $828,000 to $1 million, that's about a $182,000 increase. What's in that number is primarily our E-rate revenue, as well as our interest revenue. We are very rigorous at investing what funds that we have and the cash that we have on hand, and that's where you'll see those numbers in there. Extraordinary aid, that's our special education aid that we get in excess, so that number is the same because that budget is actually, we're preparing that now, so we're projecting to get at least that amount, but that's to be determined. Okay, so state aid, we already went through state aid. We got a 6% increase, $23 million. And then our grants, you'll see a significant reduction. And the reason for that is in our current year, we have carryover in that number, which is the carryover funds from previous years that were unspent. When we're preparing the budget, we cannot project for carryover funds. Your expectation is that you're spending the funds in the year that you have it, but carryover funds are spent first. They're spent first. So it's not to say we won't have any, but you cannot project that you have this current level of carryover because you won't. Additionally, when we're building the budget, we're actually informed to budget at 75% of the current year budget allocation because there's no guarantee you're going to get 100% of what you have in the current year. Okay, so this pie chart here just gives you a breakdown of what those different revenue sources were that we looked at on the previous page. As you can see, the big piece of the pie is state aid at 79, close to 80%. I'm wearing glasses for a reason because those other areas are very small and some of the ridges come in. So if you think about state aid at 79, let's round up and say 80%. Your grants are about 10%. Your excess fund balance is at 5%. Your adjustment for prior year encumbrances is at 0. In comparison, your total tax levy is at 5%. Medicaid reimbursement, it is a percentage, but it's just less than 1, so it's rounding to 0, okay? Miscellaneous revenue the same, and extraordinary aid at 1%. So where does the money go? That's what we get. Now we're going to talk about where we're spending these resources. So again, a 2-year comparison for 25 to 26, our school-based budgets have an increase of $11.6 million. That's always a good sign because you want to make sure your resources are spent in the schools. So that's a 6% increase, 11.6. Our charter schools have a significant increase as well. Their percentage is about 12.4. Their dollar amount is an increase of $8.4 million. Out-of-state I'm saying out of state, forgive me. That did not say out of state. It says out of district tuition. We're at 31 to 38 million. That's about a 6.3 increase. There are increases to tuition amounts, and you have to budget accordingly. Our adult program stayed flat at 150,000. Our central office budget, there's a reduction there of 27 million. Primarily, a lot of that is our projects that we talked about prior, the reserve for encumbrances. Those projects come into the current year, and then they're expended. So that's where a majority of that is. Our district-wide, there's an increase of 965,000. What's mostly in the district-wide line are our insurances, our property and casualty, our workers' comp, our FICA for our non-TPAF employees. So that's what we have there. Our grants are, again, what we discussed previously, is that there's a $20 million reduction because we do not have carryover budgeted, and it's at 75%. Our contribution to school-based budget, that comes from our Title I grant. There's a $3 million difference there, and that's because we have to have the set-asides. You know, so if you have to have your set-asides, one of the things within the Title I budget is you have to pay the state back for any TPAF employee or certificated employees. We have to budget for that. So that's pretty much where that number is coming from, okay? So total expenses, so total expenses, $553 million this year, budgeted for $535 million next year. Okay, and this is the pie chart, similar to the revenue chart, but just breaking down our expenditures. So here we have school-based at 37%, charter schools 14%, so that's half of the pie. School-based and charter schools is half. Now you have your out-of-district has their pie about 7%. Your adult program is 150,000. It's not, I don't want to say it's not, it's significant because it's a number, but it's no significance in comparison to this overall budget. You have your central office, which is, I don't want people to think it's just central office is getting 30% of this pie. There's a lot of other things that go into that central office. We're talking about B&G, you know, everyone in this building, our transportation, there's a lot that's in that number there. Then you have district-wide at 3%. Of course, you have your grants again at 10%, and our school-based budget at less than 0.01%. Now we're going to go and break down the grants number, the 53 million. So currently, we're at 74 million for our grants, 53 million projected for next year. Same difference, 20 million we're projecting because we're only budgeting at 75% of the current and no carryover. And these are just the varying grants within there. So we have preschool, which is very significant. There's 38 million to 37 million. You'll see a decrease of about 1 million. We did have enrollment reductions. So that's where we are there, $1 million difference. And then we have a transfer for operating budget for pre-K. That is our special services infusion for our students that attend those preschool programs. And then we have Title I, which is another significant bucket within our grants at 9 million. We have Title II at 611 million. Title III, Title IV, IDEA is also significant. We have about 3.6 budgeted for next year, and a majority of our IDEA preschool funding actually also supports out-of-district tuition for special needs. So we have restricted entitlements at 612. That's our school youth-based services program, primarily at the high school. We have local grants that we do receive throughout the year. We have a non-public teacher STEM grant, about 20,000, student activity fund at an estimate, and then school scholarship fund revenue. The SDA, there's no allocation there because there has been no commitment yet, so we do not know if we will get that. We may, but at this time, there's no commitment for a SDA emergency capital grant. So at this point, we're at 53.8 million projected for 26-27. And thank you. I'm going to transfer you over to my colleague, Mr. Mosley.
All right now. You got that clicker thing? Oh, okay. Good evening. My name is Dwayne Mosley. I'm the facilities administrator here for our Buildings and Grounds Department. I've been charged, and I too am excited because anytime I get to stand before you, that means I got a contract for another year. So I'd like to have the opportunity to present to you our facilities planning budget for our improvements in our schools. Of course, the Buildings and Grounds will continue with its efforts on focusing on our aging infrastructure as well as addressing the deficiencies in our various building systems. So over the course of the last, between 5 and 8 years, certainly COVID, when it jumped in, it taught us a major lesson, not just with our facilities, but certainly dealing with our building infrastructure, our HVAC systems, our envelopes on our buildings, including our roofs and our windows. So with that, we started planning and doing somewhere around 4 to 5 schools a year and making sure that we address something related to the building envelope, related to HVAC, and even included in there now, you'll see as I go down the list here, we started addressing the grounds and our recreation efforts on the outside of our buildings. So next year, we're planning to address roofing systems at our Dunn and McKnight schools. These are partial roof replacements that's going to occur. Again, we've addressed quite a few percentages of the roofing systems throughout the district, somewhere in the 85 percentile. With that, some of our older schools, well, I'm not going to say older schools because now they were the newer schools, now they're becoming older. Our Kilmers and our Copelands, those schools are coming up on 20 years old now. So we're a year or two away from those schools next, which were used to be our new schools. So unfortunately, roofing systems that used to be 25 and 30-year warranties back in the day, you're lucky if you get 20 years out of a roof. So those systems will be something that we'll be looking at in the near future as well. We'll continue with our efforts in our window replacements. Gregory School, we're looking to start the replacements of those windows over the course of this summer. And hopefully we'll have the projects done over the course, over before September arrives. We've started with interior doors. This is more so addressing the man-trap doors that we're looking to do in most of our schools, where our parent and communities will be able to come into the front foyer of our buildings and not have to go any further, where we'll have a pass-through window where security will be able to receive mail or kids' book bags or something might have been left home, which allows us to not let folks into the building unless it's absolutely necessary, or more importantly, if they have a meeting with the principal or staff member. So we're going to continue with those efforts there. Rivera and Holland, they're receiving new boiler systems in their buildings. We've moved to a new high-efficiency boiler. No longer are we going with the steam and the hot water boiler system. So now with the high-efficiency boilers, it allows our maintenance staff, our custodial staff, to have less presence in the building with maintaining our systems. It also allows for longevity with the system itself. Playgrounds, as I made mention to, we reshift our focus on our exterior of our buildings, not just for the building envelopes, but we also wanted to address our paving areas, our playground areas, our grassed areas, with the landscaping, in addition to the playgrounds around the district. For a long time, we put Band-Aids on a lot of our older playground systems. We might have replaced the sliding board. We might have had to weld some bars together and then sand them back down. We're finding now with a lot of the inspections that we still find ourselves being in a failed status as opposed to being able to make it a safe structure. So we've replaced quite a few, and I'm sure as you ride through the city, you've seen some of our new playground systems. They're pretty awesome. They actually stand out kind of like amusement parks. And I see our kids playing on the structure, I get excited. I actually slid down one sliding board one time, but that's, so, and finally, the demolition and installation of the new HVAC rooftop systems over at the P.J. Hill School. We've been addressing four systems a year throughout the district. However, P.J. Hill has been a nuisance child for the last couple of years. Unfortunately, it's now an emergency. So we added it to the list so that over the summer, we'll be able to go in and replace those systems on that roof. So that's one of the reasons why that school won't be active for a summer program. As you can see, these efforts for the routine and required maintenance are a total of $9 million. This is not all the projects that we look forward to carrying out. However, this is predominantly the focus for the Buildings and Grounds Department for the next year. Thank you.
You go, Jim. So what is $1 worth in our district? So if you look at this dollar bill and you see the green portion, that is 55 cents. So classroom instruction is worth 55 cents. So you see that we put our budget together with our students and our instructional program at the core. Next, we have support services, which is our child study teams, our guidance counselors, parent liaisons, paras. That's 18 cents. Operational, Mr. Mosley, and plant services is 15 cents. Our special programs, which is grants, because as Ms. Mitchell stated, that went to about 75%, that's 9 cents. Capital outlay, which is our equipment, is $1, it's 1 cent. And then our co-curricular instruction. So you see that we're on the right direction when our green portion is 55 cents. So we were very proud of that when we put our numbers together. I was like, yes, we're at actually 55 cents. So I knew Gene would really love this dollar bill because he really wanted to see where does our money go. And if you look, some of that, but I need to say that some of that classroom instruction is charter schools and out-of-district students. Even though we don't educate those students, they're included in our budget because our residential students is 17,000, but 3,600 are charter school students, and that's why we give them $76 million, right? And then out-of-district is 469 students, and they receive an additional like 38,000. So if you look at our $500 million budget, and then you take out the components that are fixed costs, then where we are. So it's really good, though, to have us look at what it's worth in our district and see that we are making strides, because I believe last year it was worth maybe 30 cents. So it went up tremendously. Our highlights, as Ms. Mitchell discussed, $23.9 million came from state aid, which was 6%. Our tax levy was $514,000, which is 2%. The district generated excess surplus of $26.1 million. So that's really what took us over, because if we would have just had the 23 minus the 8 that went to charters, that's what, 15, 16? And our budget have to be built on more than that because of our staffing, our obligations, the health benefits, the rising costs, our rising fixed costs. We need to look at all of that when we're trying to put together a budget. And then next year, because Mr. Earl has a pad with all his notes, we're going to see, okay, what are we going to look at next year as our priorities and what things can we reduce? We always say people first, places, and then things. So we always try to make sure we keep our people, then we look at places, which is traveling. Maybe we can reduce that, and then things. But people is important to us, and that's why we don't have the layoff as the other school districts, because we strive on that. In academic investments, that was $11.6 million, which went directly to our schools, and then technology and facility upgrades. So at this time, this is very important, because I tell my staff this all the time. Our past choices, we need to make them go in another direction. So a school district's budget is more than just numbers. It is a record of a district past decisions and spending plan for the future. So we always try to look at where are we in the next 2 years, because if we're just planning for this current year, then we'll be like some of our surrounding districts. So we're looking 2 and 3 years out to ensure that we can continue to have a budget that's balanced for our students. We'll entertain your questions at this time.
The floor is open.
Yes, so I commend you. I think that when I wasn't here for the meeting, but I'm sure they went over the audit results. He made mention of the challenges faced by other districts, and so I commend you and the superintendent and team for your decision making, that we aren't in a position where we have the burden that other districts have, to your point, because we are looking further out than right now and not investing temporary money in bodies. And that goes to your point about people, so that we don't have the impact of letting people go, because people serve the children that we serve. So I commend you on that, and I really like that dollar. And I think for me, could you pull that back up, because it's really important? Okay. So when you talk about $500 million, that's a lot of money. And so I really appreciate your team taking the opportunity to give this snapshot, because a picture's worth 1,000 words, and we're spending almost 60 cents of every dollar directly in the classrooms, which is a really, really big deal. So I commend you all. I just wanted to make a point. You know, I looked at it so many times, I don't have any questions, but I think that speaks volumes about what's important to the district. So thank you.
Well done. We're really happy to see that a little more than half of the budget is going towards the students. But I did have a question. If you would please refresh my memory. Last year, it was way less than that. Which of these accounts had most of that money that this year went back to the students?
Well, remember, charter schools, even though we don't educate those students, to charter schools, and even our students, we look at our curricular inventory and things that Ms. Sung, who does that budget, we say, what do you need for the 26-27 school year, the superintendent and the schools, and they put together what they believe their students need, because the budget is built on their unique needs, and that's what we build when we're implementing that. So this year they kind of reallocated and kind of focused a little further with student priorities instead of just, and I'm not saying field trips are not good at other things, but we wanted most of our money to stay in the classroom, and that's what happened here. So the management was a little different also, of how we managed our schools.
Okay, so are you saying that the trips for our kids, they're definitely not included in classroom instruction?
No, they're under like co-curricular in clubs.
Where at?
But we have a lot of trips. See the
Oh.
38, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
All
we
right.
do have a lot of trips, but not compared to what we have.
Right,
in
and they're
our
good. I'm
classrooms,
glad
yeah.
we have those trips. They're really necessary because they do help to reinforce what's being learned in the classroom. We don't have a problem with that. But my question is, which of these, because we only had 30-something cents of the dollar going into the classroom instruction last year.
Yeah, I think it was about 30, you're right. But when gap codes, right, when gap codes change, like out-of-district tuition, they may have been under a support gap code, but now they're under an instructional gap code,
Okay.
even though we don't
That's it.
educate them. So we have to go with if gap codes change or anything else
Got
change.
you.
And so that's why we'll come up differently. But if you look at what is in there, you'll see regular programs, special ed, bilingual, adult program, home instruction, Kelly services, because they provide, if our teachers are out, they provide the sub. So all of those costs are included in classroom instruction.
Gotcha, thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
Traditionally, city aid has been about 6%, and then I noticed this year it's down to 5%, even with our 2% hike. Why is that?
I'm sorry, you're saying the city?
City, the money we get from the city has traditionally been 6%.
Since for the last maybe 15 or 20 years.
Well,
we
we've
received
always had the
2% from
2%
the city.
levy, but go forward.
Oh, forward, I'm sorry.
Forward. There's, next one?
This is the first slide, so where am I
Yeah,
going?
the next one, it might have been a pie chart.
So you want to go to the pie chart?
Yeah. Yeah, it's at 5%. What's the difference? If we still did the 2% levy, why are we getting?
It's the overall. When you're doing a pie chart, it's the overall. What is the overall percentage?
Okay.
Okay, so, because remember, even though we're saying we get from the local, right? Because we get other funding if they're, utilizing our buildings or things of that nature. But the city gives us 2% for the tax levy, and then it's the other revenue we generate from outside vendors using our buildings.
But what is the reality of the tax levy we're not getting from the city? I think is my question. Like, we get 26 million?
We received 26 million, but as I went over this with all the board members, when we went over what the state sends, I believe they said it was 65 million. Correct me if I'm wrong. Around 65.
What we should be,
What we
right.
should be receiving, but we're receiving what they can afford to give us. Because as I said, when they built the funding formula, they didn't reach out to the city and say, can you give this amount? So they built that formula in for them. So they can only give us what they have, right? So, and it's a formula that's municipal overload, and they're on that. They're in that formula. So we received 2%. We're thankful for that because it helped close our gap. So that's all I can say at this time.
Kind of along that point, in regards to, I guess, that gap between what we receive from the city and, what the estimated amount would be, I've also heard some conversations as to if that, city amount did increase, right? Getting as close to that 65 million, that, the misconception would be that state aid would be affected by that. Is that true or is that not? Can you just address that, because that's out there in the public?
That's not true. State aid is going to be 79–80%. We're going to receive that amount because our district, which is former Abbott, we don't have the luxury as a Hamilton and those districts to receive 94% from their municipality. Because like I said, we have a formula in the city of Trenton that they're on municipal overload, so they don't have it to give us. So if they gave us 10%, or if they gave us 20%, the state aid would remain the same, right? Because we are a state-funded district. So no, their funding wouldn't go down. Now, what might go down is the excess surplus, right? Because if they see they're giving us 24 or 25 million, and we're generating outside of that 25, 26 million, they're going to say, well, if you can generate that kind of funding, you don't need 23 million from the state of New Jersey. So those are things we need to look at for the upcoming school year. But as far as the city and the state, we'll probably never get more than 2%, but prior they did used to fund a lot of our projects. Because remember, when we were type 1, they bonded a lot of our projects, which is still on their books. Now we're type 2, we bond our own projects, but we did get that benefit from them in the past.
All right, appreciate you clarifying that. And just in my mind, it was helpful to, when we discussed it, right, identifying that these are, I call them like, separate funnels of funding, right, that don't necessarily interact with each other. If you could, just one more question. Can you go to the next slide, slide 13? Actually, wait, no, I'm sorry, slide 12, we were just on it. The question I had was in regards to the last line, the grants contributions to SBB. Can you walk me through that again? Because if I heard you correctly, it was something along the lines of payment towards TPAF, like the retirement system. Is that what that is?
Well, the SBB, the $5,200,000, right? That is a blended amount, right? That's in grants. They allow us to take a certain amount and blend it, just like you put everything in a blender, where, should I say this out loud, where no one will know where we spent that money. If we had it in Fund 20, then you can go through and say, oh, you should have spent this on X, Y, and Z. Well, they can't tell whether we spend that on any type of personnel, because if they do, it's going to be 53-point-something% that we have to pay in FICA. It might be 55 now in FICA taxes. But if they're in our local, which is 15, they pay us. So you don't put people under grants, because then we're losing 53, 54%. So that piece is our safety net for our schools. We know you can get that. We can put that in your budget. You can spend it however you want. And our auditors just do a formula, because they really can't tell where it's being spent. That's why it's very important that we blend that piece.
Thank you. And just one last piece. This is specifically for Mr. Mosley. For any, equipment that you test out, specifically any slides that you go down, just make sure that there are pictures, all right? Because you need to accurately record these things.
Unfortunately, I failed to realize we have cameras at all of our schools. It just happened that a principal brought it to my attention. I said, put a slide there. But it didn't, my weight capacity.
But no, thank you guys for the amazing work that you do.
To piggyback on Austin's first question about the equalization aid, if they do restructure the funding for our schools, we would be greatly affected, or not?
Are you asking a question about the equalization aid?
Well, the total monies that we receive from the state.
Well, we don't know. They have to fund us according to how many students we have, residential students, because out of that pot comes charter schools and out-of-district schools also. So whatever that per pupil amount is, now I believe it's about $15,000 to $16,000 for an elementary student, another 1.4% for middle, and another 1.15% for high school students. I think that piece will stay the same, the equalization piece. They may take out the other weights that they give the former Abbott districts, like if you have LEP students that are at risk, they give you like another 0.5% and another percentage if you have the free and reduced lunch. Right. So those things they may take out, because then they're saying we're not like our counterparts, which is the Hamiltons and Robbinsville.
How could that affect us, though?
So, well, it could. That
it
piece,
will.
It will, but I still think they will give us those weights, because in the code, it states if you're 40% at risk, you get to have like a para in kindergarten. You know, preschool, you have 21 kids per class, K through third grade, so they're never going to change that.
So
So
if
they
they
would have to
do-
fund us then, because we would need more teachers than our counterparts who can have 30 kids in the class.
Okay, so if they do restructure the funding formula for the state of New Jersey, then we will not be affected
Well, we will be, but not as much.
Right, as
Right.
much, okay.
Because they have to
That
fund
was my
whatever
worry.
the code states.
Okay, that was it. Thank you.
Yeah, I did have one question, and it was about, I think when Sean was presenting, and she talked about how we're driving revenue based on investment. What slide was this at? I wasn't sure. Yeah, it's like the interest income and stuff. So, which one? Oh, the miscellaneous revenues. Okay. I just wanted to see what that number was. I couldn't recall what that number was. Okay. Well done.
And that's really small considering that our big piece is in the 26.
Right. Yeah, it's pennies.
That's where
Yeah,
the
it's
revenue-
pennies,
right.
but I wasn't sure
Yes.
what that number, I didn't think it was up to, I knew it was less than a million, like last year's number, so thank you. That's it.
Actually, I did have another question. Are we getting our award for accounting this year?
The Certificate of Excellence?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, there were absolutely no findings in the last audit, like zero. So job well done, you guys. You really did a good job.
We're now going to have our graduation report, 24-25 school year.
I got you. Oh, no, I don't. Which button? Advance. The bottom. Okay. All right. Good evening. We have a report. I wanted to just kind of notify the board that this is a report that's due in August. We realized during QSAC that we had entered all the information but not had the board meeting report. So this information was submitted on time to the state, but we were supposed to share it. So this is graduation data from 24-25 school year. And what they do now is they require, all right, this is submitted at the end of each year. So you'll get this again in August. And so we're going to submit this, and then we have to share it with the county, with the state, to let them know that we went through this process. But you can see it just is about current 12th grade student data. That would have been for August. So we're not talking about this year. I just want to make that clear so that when you look at the data. So this is just talking about pathways that students use to graduate. If you graduate using NJSLS, we'll talk about the pathways in a minute. And then Mrs. Sung will share our actual data around that we submitted to the state in August or in July to share with what we have done. So we do a presentation to the board, which is this. We clarify areas of need, which we're already working on. You get that. You get some of this data when we share the GPA, graduation, is it GPA report? The graduation report, when Mrs. Sung shares that. So some of this is included, but what they did was they actually asked us to share this in this level of details. So you're going to see the total number of students graduated, total number of students graduated, passing the end of course, the NJSLA, the number of students graduated on the substitute competency. You can see multiple pathways. You'll see those in a minute. The number of students graduated under the portfolio appeals process, which students can do. And we probably have our largest number of students, well, we certainly have a largest number of students who graduate using that pathway. The number of students receiving state-endorsed high school diplomas as a result of meeting any alternate requirements for graduation, as specified in their IEPs, the total number of students denied graduation from 12th grade class. That's an interesting figure because we have to we're trying to track the students, and that's difficult when someone leaves us. They've gone through the NJSLA, the pathways, potentially the portfolio process, and didn't meet success, and they disappear. And so they show up in our numbers, and we have to track them and find them to see if we can get them back. So you'll see numbers, and this is not necessarily cohort numbers because you have to take out the Twilight program numbers, depending on when those students entered. And then total number of students denied from the 12th grade class solely because of failure to pass the high school end of course NJ student learning assessment, substitute competency test, or portfolio appeals process based on provisions in this chapter. So I wanted to explain what you're seeing. We talk about graduation rates, we talk about graduation often, but the state is requiring that we actually share this information in this format. So the class of 2026 graduating assessment requirements, you can see after completing NJSLA, the proficiency assessment in grade 11, students did not demonstrate proficiency by passing ELA, means they did not meet success. The second pathway is PSAT, SAT, ACT, AccuPlacer. Or the third pathway is by submitting through the district student portfolio appeals process. We talked about that a few minutes ago. And the same in math. If they don't meet success, similar. The pathway is PSAT, ACT, SAT, AccuPlacer, and then they can go through if they don't meet the requirement in any of those, they can go through the portfolio appeals process. And the portfolio appeals is several different sessions of work around the same work, building that competency, checking if students know it's different than taking the test where you're timed, you have just the days they get to come in and the teachers work with them to make sure they meet the same requirements. It just allows more time. Under the Individuals with Student Disability Education Act, IDEA, all students with disabilities must be included in all general state and district-wide assessments. So all of our students who are classified have specific assessments, and as you read through this, the IEPs determine any modifications, any accommodations, and potentially if they'll take the state test or an alternate assessment. So as you go through the language here, I won't read it all to you, that's what this is telling us, that students have to meet proficiencies outlined in their IEP. Pathway 1, ELA, students must take and demonstrate proficiency in 11th grade on the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment, which includes content aligned to the 10th to grade 10 New Jersey Student Learning Standards, NJSLS and ELA, and the algebra, NJSLS and algebra, and in geometry. After completing the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment, a student does not demonstrate proficiency on ELA or math section, the student may retake the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment in the summer or the following summer or fall. So they have multiple opportunities to take. Student with disabilities whose IEP states that they are not eligible for the alternate assessment, the dynamic learning maps, must take the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment in grade 11. It's a lot of NJ and a lot of graduation, a lot of NJSLS. So, and you can see the cutoff score or the standard score in ELA must be greater than or equal to 725. In math, it must be greater than or equal to 725. And the pathway is only available, pathway 2. So if you don't meet the requirement and you come to pathway 2, we talked about ACT, SAT, AccuPlacer, and some of those areas. This outlines the cutoff scores in ELA and math, or the standard score. ACT, you can see at 17, and in math, 17. And AccuPlacer, right placer is greater than 5, and in ELA, greater than 49 in math. So the numbers we wanted to share with you, that's how our students should score if they're going to meet success. If they If they don't in this pathway, then the third pathway, as we've stated. This is just really outlining the second pathway. And then the portfolio appeals process. And maybe Ms. Sung, when you come up, you can outline that a little bit more. But she's going to come up and share some of the data around the actual data that we submitted around our students. I know Ms. Morero Lopez was discussing it with me earlier, and I was talking about the cohorts. You have to be careful with cohorts. They're talking about the 4-year cohort, and students may fit in that. So you may see a large number, but maybe all the students don't fit in that cohort. However, we are excited that we get students to graduation. That's the role, that's the goal. And if it shows a number that's disappointing today, if we can get more back in the summer, this is inclusive of summer students, but it's also important to remember we're going to keep educating until we get them through. And that's the work that we do, and that's the work we have to commit to. So I appreciate the support. Let's see, I think yes. So I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Sung. It's only a few more slides.
This is intuitive. Okay, counterintuitive. Good evening, everyone. So I'm going to share with you the submitted data, which is just the numbers per those indicators that Mr. Earl shared with you in the beginning part of the slide. So as you just recall, the key point for graduation for the 2024, 25, 25, 26 school years are very consistent. One is you have to pass the GPA. That's the graduation proficiency assessment, and that's aligned to the 10th grade ELA and math content, right? The second piece is if you don't pass successfully, you have another chance to take it. Usually our students, bulk of our students, retake the assessment in the fall block. If you don't pass that, and only if you don't pass that, then you can consider the alternative pathway. So really, the pathway that the state really wants to see is the passing of the GPA. But there are multiple measures that we put in place. As Mr. Earl has shared with you, portfolio process is generally most high schools' pathways to take because it allows for tutoring, opportunities for teachers to work with students on an individual basis. So having said that, the 24-25 school year data has been submitted. It's still embargoed, meaning that it's not yet out as a performance report. But when the school districts are required to submit this data in the summer, and I believe the new system was called NJ's LED, and there were some wonkiness with the new platform that every district kind of experienced, as President Trueheart can concur. So we are working with the state and just kind of getting through it. But in regards to what we submit, we capture the most recent data as much as possible. As school district is evolving, it's moving and it's living. So there is really no one way to capture exact data, because come tomorrow you could have more information and more students coming in, right? But there is a cutoff date. The state requires districts to submit the data. That submission of the data is combined with the ASA account. As you recall, October 15th is a big date for every district, right? And then that gets compiled into the conversation with the DOE of accountability, and that eventually generates out to performance reports. So every year, on or around November, December, district personnel are provided with embargoed information, which is really not to be shared with anybody. This is something that is required to be shared out with the board, right? So that we can anticipate what we are going to see at the performance report. What I'm sharing with you are the indicators that are required by the state per QSEC Governance Indicator 6A. So 6A, right? Yeah, great. So the first information is total number of students graduated. We graduated to 881 total number of students. That's inclusive of Twilight, so TLHS, that's sort of like my makeup because we don't have daylight Twilight anymore. So it's sort of like my makeup, bear with me. Twilight school students, inclusive of the Trenton Public Schools, that's TCHS and CCHS, Trenton Central and Capital City, as well as out of district. In terms of our district students who are daytime students, we graduated 802 students. That was reported as of at the end of the summer of last school year. Total of number of students graduated passing the high school end of the year. That's the GPA assessment, cut score of 725 that we were talking about in both language arts and math. So in the language arts, at the main campus, we have 320 students, Capital City 23, Twilight 0, out of District 2. In the area of math, 83, and the main campus, Capital City, 10, and Twilight, 0, and out of district, 1. So what that means is majority of our students are taking alternative pathways to graduate. Because obviously we're graduating in 800s, and these are in 300. What that means for us in teaching and learning and as district, we have to think about how we prepare our students to be ready to be able to be proficient in the GPA assessment. The number of students graduated under the substitute competency test process. So those are the multiple pathways that we just reviewed with you. In the language arts, on the main campus, it's 7 students, Capital City 1, Twilight 0, and out of district 0. Math 105, Capital City 1, and Twilight and out of district is 0. So those are your AccuPlacer, PSATs, SAT assessments. Oops, counterintuitive. Gotta remember. Okay, number of students graduated under the portfolio. So you see majority of our students are using that portfolio pathway, which is perfectly allowable and permissible by the state. ELA, the main campus, 310, Capital City, 130, Twilight, 50, out of District 3. In math, 429 in the main campus, from the main campus rather, 142 for Capital City, 50 for Twilight, and out of District 1. Number of students receiving state-endorsed high school diplomas as a result of meeting any alternate requirements for graduation as specific to IEP. So those are the students of special education students who have specificities outlined for them in their individual education plan. Main campus 1, Capital City 4, Twilight 2, out of District 24 was reported to the state. Total number of students denied of graduation from the 12th grade class. So when we talk about 12th grade, those are your cohort of students who are projected to graduate by the end of 2025, right? 24-25 school year. So those are your 4-year cohorts. Total in the district is counted for 156. Number of students denied graduation from 12th grade class solely because of failure to pass high school end of the year course, New Jersey Student Learning Assessment, that's the GPA, substitute competency tests like SAT, PSAT, AccuPlacer, or portfolio appeals process based on provisions of that chapter, it's 0. So what's that's telling us is, because I actually was like, oh, how does that make sense? We have 156 and we have 0. That means that all of our students had access to the 3 pathways that we just reviewed, right? But for whatever other reasons, compounded by, so an example could be excessive attendance or absenteeism, right? It could also be an example of transferring out of the state or transferring out of the district and not registering in another school, which then works against us. We'll talk a little bit about that. Those are the cases that we have. In fact, when I look at the data, out of 156, we have about upwards of 86 students who have transferred out of our school, who have shown excessive absenteeism that contributed to their inability to be able to graduate on time. Okay, so next steps. So as you always hear me talk about data, I give you the news. I give you the facts of what was submitted, and then we talk about, like, what are we doing with this information? To be honest, I'm looking at this graduation data not in context of GPA for the first time, looking at this sole information in isolation, right? And I have worked with Department of Technology under Mr. Samuel and Ms. Rike, who works as the data analyst for the main submission of the graduation portfolio data. So one of the big takeaways is, like, where is the communication line and how do we kind of align that so that we are proactive rather than looking at the data and thinking about what do we do next? So being proactive rather than reactive. So a couple of things that I've conversed with Mr. Earl and just thinking about, and also with the technology team, about how can we do this better so that we can have a better idea and try to reduce as much as we can humanly control and be possible to reduce that number of those students who were denied of graduation, right? So the first thing is documentation of students who are transferring out of Trenton Public School. So as you know, when students transfer out, per state code, they have to register in another school. If they don't register in another school and they're in that graduation cohort, so 9th grade onward, they are still marked as our students. So our obligation is to make sure that we communicate That specific, important, right? Next steps to the family, the community, and the students who are transferring out, right? Unless they're moved out of the country and that's documented, they will always count against us. So we have a lot of transient population, right? We talk a lot about that. We have a lot of students who may show up to school and then just kind of disappear for days or even months, and we don't know. We're calling the families, we're calling the home, we got attendance officers knocking on the door, and we still can't get in touch. Those are the families that we're counting for when we're talking about 156, 86 kids, or 156 minus 86 is what, 70? Right? 70 students who may not be, or 86 students. So we have to think about how do we set standard operating procedures and expectations and guidelines to better communicate that piece to the family, but also follow up, right? When I was working in a smaller district, for example, like we would have red alerts happening every time a child transferred out. Nobody could transfer out and leave the building until I ran over there, right? Like no one's leaving until I know exactly where you're going. And they're like, I don't know where I'm going. You have to tell me where you're going so I can call that school and make sure that they are ready to receive you, right? That's a big piece of that communication, not only with the family, but also as us as a district to another district to ensure. The other piece is the coding of the students. So students, when they register, they're assigned a student state ID. That state ID identifies them at the Department of Education as an individual entity, right? So when they take assessments, when they do graduation cohorts, it kind of follows. It's almost like your self-identifiable social security number kind of a thing, right? Sometimes when students leave us with one state ID, districts pick them up. They're assigned another student ID. So that student ID in our end never gets closed out from the state end, which then works against us. even though the state doesn't know, and the student wouldn't know, right? And the families don't know. And the new district, if they're not given the right information, they don't know. Again, that speaks to us being able to be in front of it, to be able to communicate with the school districts that are ready to receive or willing to, are going to be receiving these students according to the data that we have. Because we can only do so much. We only know what we know and we're shared with from the families, right? But that communication piece is really, really important. That was my second bullet. Okay. Oh, the last piece I just wanted to say is, when students are out of state and out of country, there is different coding that needs to be really identified, right? So we call them T8s. T8s identify the students who are out of the district and moving out. So that means that we're telling the state, this kid is getting out of our school district, and he's not even going to be, or she's not going to be in New Jersey. They're going to be out of state, right? Oftentimes, that tend to help us in terms of our cause, right? But oftentimes, if we don't know that information is left blank. Again, that counts against a school district. So we have to develop some standard operating procedures to help us identify how we code that and communicate that back out to the state. District and school level, just looking at standard operating procedures, I keep talking about SOPs, but there's so many moving parts in when we talk about students transferring out, graduating, completing portfolio process. We're talking about central office, school level, we're talking about teachers, we're talking about summer school, a lot of different programs, credit recovery. So all of those pieces have to come together. As somebody very wise used to tell us in the county office, a river has to run its course, right? Something has to thread these movements together and pull them together. Because what's happening is at the technology end, at the end of the summer, when everybody's off in the summer vacation, they're now having to pull this information and submit it to the state. So somebody has to be that thread. Right now, I think that's me. Right? So what does that look like in terms of communication? But what does that look like in terms of training and allowing constituents or stakeholders to be fully aware of the background context? Perhaps they're just kind of like working in that like single kind of, I do this part and I pass. Right? Not really understanding the potential impact that they might have. So that's a big piece for my reflection, at least, that I recommended to Mr. Earl in terms of how we bring that together to make sure that everyone is speaking that common language, common standard, common approach, and common procedural. Okay. We have questions? Oh, we will have questions. Yes, we'll have questions. And really, basically, the last piece is what we're actively working on right now is the scheduling. So how are we preparing our students who are currently 8th graders, even 7th graders, about to enter that graduation cohort, making sure that their readiness, their grades, their multiple measures, matrix components actually contribute to their success in the 9th grade and onward. Ms. Linda Wyatt Simpson, who is here this evening, who's going to present, has been working actively with her counselors, and we have been in communication with multiple campuses at the high school. The other piece is really looking at and auditing graduation ready and graduation required courses while students are in the trajectory of the graduation cohort. Okay, so I'm gonna pause because I see Mr. Earl standing. That means I need to stop. Questions?
My mic, right? Yeah, I keep forgetting, I'm sorry. I had a big mouth. I guess, so this was very helpful for me because I count graduates every year. If you've seen me, I've got my little thing right because I think it's a big.
I noticed that.
Yeah, I count them all the time between all of the schools. So we're graduating 800 students. I'm going to use that as a round number. That 156 caught me off guard because that's a huge process gap.
Yep.
And technically, we don't have, and as it relates to this, what I would describe as process quality, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited that you're looking at it, but what's going to be more exciting is how you solve that problem because it's a fundamental or basic problem. Like you know what I mean? And so how many students, I didn't like the term you use, disappear. Like students who, when I was in school, because I remember it happened specifically, I was going to another school, so I would have been out of that technically cohort, right? I had to go to the office of the school that I was attending, and then when I got to the school that I was going to, there was some kind of sync that happened, so that you know, I was literally pulled out of one and put in the other. And so that doesn't happen like that anymore, or is it kind of ambiguous? That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I think in some cases it does. What we're discovering, it's, you know, with a transient population and this educational culture. Like, if you come here and you don't understand, we're saying, hey, let us know. And then you take off because you've had a bad experience. You may not reach back out, and we have to find you. And I mean, to put it in technical terms, our job is to search and find those individuals in the 156. So people will just disappear. And sometimes we hear later, they're still in Trenton, right? So we don't know where they disappeared to, and we have lots of people searching. And the one thing you talked about, we'll solve this because we have it. I mean, we're doing the work. We just don't do it as well as we'd like. We'd like to be able to say we know where all 156 are. And we can't get them here because they're in these locations. We'll like to be able to do that better going forward because we want to see if any of them graduated. When you're searching, they won't count against you. You can actually remove them in the appeals process because we get the actual names when they send those over, and we get to appeal and say, no, we know this one, we know that one. So yes, they do disappear.
And then there's one last question, and I'm sure one of my colleagues is going to ask this question, but how do we move that number, aggressively move that number from the alternative? So reduce the alternative and drive the GPA number. I think that's going to be also critical, and things don't happen like overnight, so I'm not being unrealistic about it. But what is the gap between those? Like, some students are almost there, this is my likely thinking. Some are almost there where they could do the GPA, but they miss slightly.
Yeah.
So they have to take the alternative route. How do we move those that are just short? I guess that's
I think we're on that journey, and I think we have to continue to stay focused on high-level classroom instruction, providing the support teachers need, professional development, and finding those nuances in what we do that can help us shift how they learn, and we do that through relevant curriculum and resources and things like that. Students, we said students don't learn in this culture the way we learn. And so we have to meet them in that place. And a lot of what we do already, many of our teachers are, we have the project-based learning, but many of our teachers are already connecting students in different ways in classrooms to enhance learning. So that, and the experience about testing, when you test and you've never seen that level of question or engagement in an item, that can trip you too, because you're behind. You're going, okay, I don't know what they're asking. You may know the content, you just don't know how it's being asked. And so I think for us, we're shifting to create that style, and not over testing young people, but creating that style of learning so that you explore more, you go deeper, and then when you see it, it's just a matter of, oh, I can solve this because I've had this way to use my brain. So that's just work that we have to do long term. We'll see small and steady improvement, but we do want to give credit to the students who finish this process, right? I know that GPA makes us all excited. We get the first level, we see big numbers, but when kids graduate, we just open the gateway. And to me, it almost doesn't matter how, because that's our goal. Our goal is to get them there, and the pathways, the state offer those, and they are approved, they're allowed, and we're going to continue to, we hope that kids get this on the first try, and that's what you're saying, can we get it through on the first try? So we're going to continue to do that work.
A couple of quick questions
Yep.
and comments, really quick. First of all, it is my understanding that 156 students are not accounting for the students that we have, quote unquote, lost, the transient population. So that means that we had a total of 1,037 students, and out of those 1,037 students that we had now for this year, 85 of them practically graduated. It's just that the number 85 is brought down, if I'm understanding correctly,
85?
because all the other students because of the students that we have lost. This is what I was asking earlier. So those 156 students are not including all our transient students. So if we were to say that we started with 1,057 or 37, 1,037 students, out of those 1,037 students that are actually in school, only 15% failed or did not graduate. So I just want to make that observation. I know it's not an official thing. However, we have to also let people, make people understand how it is that our graduation rates are really not as bad as it seems, because we have such a huge number of students that we do not know where they're at. We do not know if they did graduate, which would count in our favor, or if they didn't graduate, which would count against us if they left the country. And so I like the idea that I think that we have to be a bit more proactive in trying to find that information, going to the Department of Homeland Security, see who has left the country, because we can do that somehow, and then requiring that other school districts would get in touch with the district that student is coming from, so we can know where they're at. That's a courtesy thing, and I think maybe we should make it a requirement. The other thing that I wanted to quickly say is that
Just one more.
I would rather.
I want to hold us all to one comment, one question, and then we'll circle back.
Okay, mine's real quick. I just want to leave it out, if you don't mind.
Excuse me?
Can I just, kind of let it all go? It's really quick.
You
Yeah.
want to let it all go? I really want
Yes, please.
I really want to get us all.
Because I'm inspired now.
Here's the reason. It's because everybody has a lot of questions, and we want to get everyone's
all right.
questions answered, and
I'm
the
okay
opportunity
with-
to answer
yes.
a question, because we have limited time.
Okay.
Ad, you have a question?
Not really a
Okay, I'll
question.
come back.
Yeah, I'm sorry, not really a question, just a statement. I think my statement kind of aligns with what Jean was thinking. Like, I'm certainly glad that the alternative pathways exist, but I would like to see more students going by the first pathway and seeing how we can reduce the number of students that are having to use the AccuPlacer or SAT or appeals process. Like I said, I'm glad that exists because everyone is not a good test taker. However, I would like to see those numbers move so that there are more that pass it through the NJSLA or whatever the test is they're taking now. So that was my thought and comment. And I certainly, I'm aware of losing students, right? I mean, we've done the track down in terms of, going out into the neighborhoods and trying to find the last address and where they went and all that kind of stuff. So I know that happens, right? And I think we all know that happens. And sometimes it's even worse now because folks leave the country completely. And you cannot go out of country to find them, right? So, it's unfortunate, but understood.
Are there,
And we think that we have an idea of how to support and align the math specifics because you saw that 300 ELA, but then you saw like under 100 in math. So there is definitely a discrepancy. So we're doing some deep dive in those areas. We think that we have a solution that can or that could have some contribution, but time will tell in regards to how we are. But we're definitely on it.
any other questions from other board members?
I had a question.
Larry?
My question was looking at our year-to-year trends when it comes to the appeal process, especially with the portfolios. Are we seeing that number rise in each cohort? We're seeing on a year-to-year trend more and more students needing to do the portfolio compared to having to take a PSAT or ACT or the passing the standard GPA test.
I think what I'm hearing here is that it's been fairly consistent in the numbers of students. So I mentioned that earlier, that we see more students use that process, and we don't start with that. We want them to pass the first one. So we are working to see how we can move more students to passing GPA on the first try. But I think if we looked at the numbers, I'm happy to do backwards. We didn't do that for this particular presentation, but maybe we'll get that information and look at the last 5 years and see what that looks like, to see what the trend is. So we can do that for you.
It was.
So, yeah, Denise?
Yeah, so just to clarify, what school year are we looking at? Is that, that's not this current
Not this
school year?
one, this last year's. So we would have done this presentation in August for last year. Yeah, that's what I was
August of
trying to,
2025.
for September 30th.
Okay, and I think Ms. Sung may have mentioned this before, but I didn't write it down. Did you mention the type of interventions you all are planning to use or already started using for the 7th and 8th graders who 4 years from now will be, in this, counted in these numbers?
Yeah, so part of the work that we have started this year is to really assist the counseling department alongside Ms. Wyatt Simpson, who's the supervisor of the guidance team. The teaching and learning supervisors are looking at the student performance so far in terms of their grades, their past NJSLA performance, and multiple measures, other factors, to identify students who are ready, truly ready for the honors level, the AP level placement, and future dual enrollment opportunities. So that actually kind of identify students who are truly ready for those accelerated courses, thus they will be able to participate and continue to succeed. And then the identification process will also reveal students who may be in the cusp. And those students will need intervention and appropriate resources, as Mr. Earl has shared, to support them. And then students who are not yet there and who may benefit from what we call tiered interventions. So students who need just a little bit more of a push using various resources. And that's kind of the conversation that we're having district-wide as a result of this proportionality conversation, but very specifically pertaining to getting our middle school students ready for Tanga and for Tanga students be ready for transitioning to the two campuses.
All right, so just want to be respectful of everyone's time. What we want to do is, if we have one more question, we're going to limit this portion to another 5 minutes. Here's the reason. Not that we want to limit the comments and the communication, but we have another presentation after this one. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, including the staff who's here to present. So any additional comments after this 5 minutes, if it's okay with the board, I'd like to take those to committee. Take those to committee. So, Jeannie, you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay. 5 minutes, please.
It'll be less than 5.
Well,
Couple
it's 5 minutes
questions.
total conversation.
It said on the third pathway, students are denied, and it goes to the DOE. How does the DOE accept the data? What do they do?
I'm sorry, did you say third pathway?
The third pathway. It's the appeals process. Who at the state, what are they looking at, saying, okay, you passed? Or,
So the portfolio process, I believe, is a group of questions that that are identified to be equivalent to that of performance report, like a
so it's not an
GPA.
outside person looking at it, even though it says,
So there is a teacher, there are teachers who are assigned to assist with the portfolio process. So that has opportunity for students to be engaged in that. So as a result, when students are scheduled in the campuses, they're scheduled for the engagement of portfolio process during their day as part of the classwork.
right.
And that information
And are
gets.
those people ever denied?
So usually, no, not in the experience that I've had in the 10, 11 years that I've served in this role.
Okay. And my next question,
Limited to one question, sorry. This
Can I just say, this is our working session, so we should be able to.
is not a working session, this is an actual board meeting.
This is our board meeting,
Yeah.
our work.
So, I mean, it's up to you guys. You guys want to continue the conversation?
It's just
We can,
real
we can,
quick
we can open it up and don't have any time,
you know, this is-
frame. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
okay, and then on the second level, the number of students that are going to in the portfolio, how many of those are getting the scores from the PSAT or the ACT versus using the AccuPlacer that's put out? Because the AccuPlacer, you can't fail or pass it. So my thing is, we're putting kids out on the streets that don't have the skills. And
So,
that's really my concern.
Yeah, I mean,
You're given 100 ways to not fail.
so we're giving what the state allows.
And-
So I'm not sure how to interpret that. And I'm happy to listen, but help me interpret that so we don't put anyone out on the street to fail. They go through, and the portfolio process is a process that's allowed by the state. And it's allowed in every district, not just ours. We just happen to have more kids that go through it.
I get that, but my concern is true, real literacy skills, that child is able to read at a 12th grade level, not at a 4th grade level. We have to be putting the work in to get them up to the 12th grade level before they leave us.
So we don't
Because
disagree
life's against you. You got to look at AI now. I hope these kids know how to question between what's real and what's fake, because you really got to look at a lot of stuff. And, you know, it's the true literacy level of these kids. We're pushing kids through, all the way through. And I just think we have to stop and make sure they truly have the skills that they need. You know, that's always been my gripe, is, you know, they make a test for everything so you can pass it. So that's all I gotta say.
Okay, real quick, what was named as the Daylight Twilight students are capital city students, right?
No, Twilight's.
Twilight's the night program.
And
Okay.
capital city students are what you would consider daylight, but they're different demographics of students.
So the Twilight students are the adult education students?
Yes.
Can we call them that instead of the Twilight? It just gives me the connotation of the Daylight Twilight High School, and I would love for us to just get totally away from
Yeah.
that. I have two questions. Do we have an official procedure for students to drop out from school, and are they using that? So do we have a dropout rate, one? And two, our district mission is to prepare students for their choice of college or career.
Correct.
So going to our small learning centers, I would love to see when we have these presentations on the graduation rates, how many graduate from which small learning center, and if they receive their certification for whatever it is that that small learning center is for, because it really, and you know, I've talked about this before, and so I just wanted to go on record. It really bothers me that we have small learning centers, communities, I'm sorry, and that our students are not really getting the full benefit of that. So, what can we do? We need to be able to come together and find a way for our students to meet those requirements for that certification, for that small learning community, even if it means maybe extra hours, so that when they graduate, they can, if they choose not to go to college, which we would want to go to college, but if they choose not to, or they need to work in order to go to college, that we can give them what they need in a quote-unquote career via the certifications that we offer. And so I would like to really see that be a part of these reports when we talk about graduation.
So this report, remember, this is a state report, so we can add this separate, add what you're asking separate to this report. This will always present it exactly like you show it, because that's what the state asks us to present and then share with you. Then we can add that component if we have that information. So,
absolutely.
Yep.
Then that's what I'm asking for.
Yep.
And I do
Gotcha.
understand that this is what officially goes in, but when we receive it, I think that my colleagues here would agree with that, because we want to see that our kids have some kind of vocational training or whatever kind of training, so that they can leave here and go to work if that were the case.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I just have one final question to add. So going back to Pathway 2, we talked about how, well, in the data it's showing that a lot of students are not falling within like the catchment for Pathway 2. What is our trends for students taking the PSAT, SAT, ACT? Like, are we pushing that as a, like within the schools? Like, what does that look like?
We pay for all of our students to take PSAT and SAT, and we do it now during the day, right? We just had SAT testing, so we are using that as a pathway. We pay for it, so our students don't have to pay for it, and we do it here in district. When a lot of districts have their students go other places. So we do that during the school day so that students have access to do exactly that, plus to use it if it's a good score to get into schools or to get into other programming, post-secondary. Every student has access to it.
Okay, no, that's good to know. So, what are the challenges that you think that you're seeing on your end that is causing our students not to pass the GPA test and the SAT scores not being able to match?
So I think it's a great question. I don't know if you want to hear the answer, because a lot of the conversation is about children. So when we talk about numbers, I want to be clear that we're talking about people, right? And so we talk about all the things. You all spend days and hours with me talking about the challenges of people in district. Every single trauma event and every single immigrant event, we talk about immigration and customs officials, immigration officials being in Trenton. We talk about people migrating here. We talk about some of the trauma. We talk about family connections, how difficult it is to get students engaged because maybe they don't have that foundational support. So I'm not sure. I could give you 1,000,000 examples for why our students arrive. They arrive, and they arrive as they do. We see them that way and we serve them that way. Don't expect something if you don't understand. I've been saying forever, and I'm very emotional about that because I hear comments here. Don't forget where our kids come from, right? We know this. And to stand here as if this didn't make sense, drop me in any district, show me the demographics, and I can tell you how this is going to look. Because trauma is not replaced by data. It just happens. And we have to do that work to guide our children to a place where they can be successful, right? We see the reason why. Well, it's because maybe mom or dad left them. It's because they didn't read until 5th grade. It's because they migrated and have 2 years gap in education. It might be because they're multilingual student and they're learning 2 languages in a new system in a new country. There could be a million reasons why students don't meet that requirement. That's why the state gave us the options for our children. So the one thing we shouldn't do is look it in the face and say, that's not good enough, and that's your superintendent saying it. It's not good enough that our kids do it, because in Princeton, when they don't meet the requirement, in Hamilton and all the districts you're comparing us to, and everywhere else, when they don't meet the requirement, they have pathway 1 and pathway 2 and pathway 3. So why not good enough for us? Because our kids come in and they don't bring all of those resources. We are their resource. We are. Everything that we do, every minute we spend, every educational hour, the data tells a story. We're talking about people. We're talking about children, all right? I'm going to get off the mic. I need to move on, and you can do that.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you, Joanne. Appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, we can just prepare them for the next one, and then we'll wait for the superintendent, and then we'll start the next presentation. Yeah, I think it's HIB, yeah, self-assessment grades. No, we can, you waiting for, Who? No, you can do the presentation now. Thank you so much. Linda Watts Simpson.
Sorry about that. I'm also the anti-bullying coordinator for the district. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about the 2024-25 self-assessment grades that are required by the state. There we go. These grades reflect the self-assessment by the school counselors mostly and their administrators to say how they're doing as far as HIB programs in their schools and efforts that they're doing to combat intimidation and bullying. So these are the areas that are measured in the self-assessment. Any programs they have, approaches and initiatives for HIB, training for staff and administrators, school-level prevention efforts, investigation procedures, reporting processes, and school climate supports. We do have the advantage this year and last year by having the HIPSTER program, which is our reporting mechanism to record all of HIB cases. So what happens is the anti-bullying specialists at each school, along with their administrators, review what they've done for the past year and report on it through the self-assessment, which is due in June of every year. The anti-bullying specialists are trained on the process for that, the guidance, how to complete the forms, and the rating process for HIB. And these are the results. So I've categorized them by level. You'll notice the max score is 78. Some of the scores are low, but that is attributed to a lot of different factors, which I can certainly share with you at another time. The intermediate results are here. Middle school and high school results. And these will all be posted on the district webpage after this meeting. And then at a glance, this is the average score at each level. And our total score for the district was 59. Okay? So with that, I have a few recommendations that we've already started putting in place. Better documentation of the HIB efforts. What happens is on a self-assessment, you have to be able to document what you've done. We haven't done such a great job with that, not knowing exactly how to do that, so we're putting some things in place so that they can document that better. The safety team needs some improvement at each school. Just knowing what the team composition is, what the goals are, and the operation of the safety team. Some safety teams are very strong, some are not as strong, because you have a lot of the same people being on the safety team as the HIB, so they're kind of taxed out. A lot of preventive measures need to be done. We need to involve our parents more, so there needs to be more parent engagement when it comes to HIB. Of course, more training. Every year we do training throughout the year. And then the expansion of student advocacy and agency. The students need to be involved and know what HIB is, how they can prevent it, how they can talk about it, how they can help others with HIB. So for the most part, that's my presentation. If you have any questions, I will take them.
Any questions? Anybody? Go ahead.
This is the first time we've seen this report, right? It's the very first time, okay.
Okay. And again, like I said, it's going to be posted on the webpage so that you can review that again. But it's due every June and be shown for the next year. Okay?
Actually, just one question on my end.
Sure.
You mentioned ways that we can increase these scores, and parent engagement was one of them. Could you elaborate a bit more on that recommendation?
For parent engagement, I think parents don't necessarily know what's involved with HIB when we're reporting it.
We have a code of conduct in the district. We have, things in place to help prevent things, but they don't necessarily know that. So when a child comes home and says they were bullied, it may be bullying, but it may not be bullying. So there's a big difference between conflict and bullying. When it comes down to bullying, of course, some parts of it is subjective, but we do have things in place in the district. We have a HIB policy. We have procedures that are supposed to be followed. We just have to do a better job of capturing that so that everybody knows that. So the parent engagement would be some of those parent workshops that are done. Denise just left with some of her people, some of just the schools getting the information out to the parents about what HIB is and what it's not. Oh, she is. Oh, there's Denise.
And not everything is HIB.
Right.
It's very hard to get to that level. I think a lot of parents just assume that, someone calls their kid another name, it's automatically HIB, and it's not. There's a whole process to get to that. Now, this is a new way of reporting from year to year?
I'm sorry?
Is this a new way of reporting, so we really have...
This is a self-assessment by the schools.
So this is...
Our reporting mechanism is through HIPSTER program, and everything is outlined within that. The parents make the report, or the school makes the report, and we, as a district, do not have the right not to investigate.
Right.
So if bullying comes up and they're saying it's HIB, we have to investigate, whether it's founded or not.
Right. So we have nothing to compare to this against last year yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I think the goal is to have schools assess themselves every year, see if their assessment of how they're doing with the implementation of HIPSTER and streamlining that process, lots of training by Mr. Roll and different people in here, and all of us going to training. We think that schools might score themselves much higher in the future because they have a few more resources this year than they've had in the past. So the goal is to see these numbers go up because this is our own self-assessment that we have to submit to the state, and we promote it, we present it every year, I think. So in here, so I think that sometimes, like this is the first time Ms. White Simpson has presented, so that's why it feels like the first time, but we've presented it before, so I think, pretty sure, it's a requirement.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you, Linda White
Thank
Simpson.
you.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes all of our presentations for tonight. We have board member comments, committee chairs. I'll just start off. We're in the process of our superintendent's evaluation calendar and preparing the calendar for this year's evaluation process, as well as our board self-evaluation. And so I'll have more information about that out to the board. I do have a schedule to discuss this tonight with everyone in executive session, but just want to let you know those are the two things that we talked about. Also, we have a board president, vice president, and superintendent's biweekly conversation. We have 2 additional board seats that we can have on that conversation. Typically, it's a conversation with the superintendent, the board president, and the VP, but we want to open it up to other board members if they want to participate. We have it every other Friday or so at 8 a.m. in the morning. So if anyone has a question for the superintendent and wants a one-on-one with the superintendent in a group setting conversation, that will be an opportunity for all of us to get together to have that conversation with him. We had that conversation about opening this up in our meeting just last week. Myself, Vice President Johnson, and Superintendent. And so we want to give everyone the opportunity to participate in those meetings as well. So just let me know, and we'll send you the Zoom link, and you'll be able to participate. But only have 2 additional board members because 4 is the max that we can have. We also want to mention. Next board meeting, we want to have our group and individual pictures. We've been trying to get that done since the storms. We haven't had success because we've had some challenges along the way here, but we did schedule it a couple of times, and we had to cancel because of storms and school closing, but we're going to try and get it done in May. So be prepared. We'll remind you about it, but be prepared for your individual photo and our group photo for this year, because we want to get that up on the board and then also on our website.
Is this a meeting that we approve the teachers' contracts for next year? Or the one
No,
at the end of the month?
regular board meeting.
The regular,
Yeah, the regular
okay.
board meeting. Yes,
So-
the regular board meeting. 15th is the one in the morning for the no, not that meeting. It'll be the evening meeting. Yeah, evening meeting. And also just on the strategic plan, if you missed the high school, the first one, April 21st, what a great time we had. A lot of staff, a lot of teachers there, and administrators there, and some parents. But we need to get more folks out. We're advertising, we're promoting it. I would encourage all the board members to promote. Superintendent, as we walked out, we had a conversation. We said we all should bring at least 5 people. So we can bring, even if it's 2 people. 2 people, if every board member shows up at the next one, which is May 19th, is that correct? May 19th at the high school. Bring 2 people with you, and we'll fill the room with what we bring, plus the other people who are coming to the meeting. I know that Denise's group is sending out correspondence to their parents in terms of that network. So we hope to have more parents and more students on May 19th at the high school, and we encourage all the board members to show up at this next meeting. I did get a report from, Superintendent and Vice President received a report from Mary Ann Freeman just this past week. Haven't had a chance to digest all of that. But once we do, we'll get that information out to the rest of the board. So you'll have that information from the meeting, all the information that was compiled. We had that data. We want to get that data out to the board, so the board has that information in preparation for our May 19th strategic planning meeting at Trenton Central High School. That's all I have. Teaching and learning, I know that, who's going to take that? Is you? Okay. Okay. Thanks, Addie.
Yes, so good afternoon, or good evening, rather. The Teaching and Learning Committee did, in fact, meet on the 21st. I was not able to attend. However, I do have the notes from that particular meeting, which indicated that the proposals, resolutions, and travel requests were discussed and approved for the board meeting scheduled for tonight. Those proposals and resolutions included things relative to professional development, planning for the summer, as well as community partnerships. There was an update from Special Education Department. This is Autism Month. April has been designated as Autism Awareness. There is a Tanga visit to City Hall to light up the ceremony to observe Autism Awareness Month. The Mott School was having a breakfast event with families with activities. Mott also celebrated Sensory Day. There was participation in the Trenton Public Schools Early Childhood Fair that took place on the 21st with the Office of Early Childhood Education. Monument and Gregory will have celebrations to commemorate Autism Awareness Month in the coming weeks. There are a couple of ongoing concerns relative to families building their understanding about out-of-district placement, and also accessibility and availability of resources and services. And so that primarily is the summary from the meeting of the Teaching and Learning Committee.
The Operations Committee also met this week. We looked at the bill list, $46,556,000 for March 31st through April 15th. We also discussed, I think, which was really important, the withdrawal of funds from the capital reserve in the amount of $12,950,000 to actually construct the new transportation complex, which I think is a really big deal for us, where everything will be centralized. And then, let's see, there was one other note. I don't know if you had the opportunity to really look at the minutes, but it was a nice ad for Jane's team to add the differences on, for example, item FF, which was revised resolution to renew the services with Monmouth Ocean Educational Service Commission. The total amount was $6,100,000, but there was only an increase of $200,000. So when you look at that number, you say, well, we're spending another $600. No, it's just a matter of the difference. So appreciate that. And then lastly, I'd like to acknowledge the donations for the folks who actually sacrifice for our children. So from Bank of America, 75 bikes, 75 helmets, a value of $8,000 for family and community engagement. Shine and Inspire, food, toiletry items, and non-perishable food, valued at $1,000 for family and community engagement. Women Who Move Mercer, food, toiletry, and other miscellaneous items, valued at $300 for family and community engagement. WellPoint, 400 reusable bags, $400 in value, family and community engagement. And let's see, Miss Tanya Robb, 2 electronic keyboards valued at $800 for Kilmer Intermediate School. And Empower Somerset, a donation of $2,000 for Tanga. So we thank all those folks who sacrifice for our children.
Okay, the Facilities Committee met on April 21st. The demolition of the Ziegler building continues, the abatement of any environmental concerns, and the power lines being relocated. This will be the new transportation site, and we'll be able to pool all our buses and everything in the same site. So, which in result is also going to free up space at Buildings and Grounds and the ninth grade academy, which hopefully once this is done and those buses are away from ninth grade academy, we can look at some form of getting the drop-off and pickup traffic off the streets and making that area safer. You know, I think that should really be the priority with that space. The ninth grade academy additions, the lighting is being installed. IT and electrical work is continuing on. During spring break, the HVAC systems, electrical work, and sprinkler piping were all installed. And the contractor is currently excavating the elevator pit for the gym and locker rooms, while engineers address the groundwater that they encountered during digging because of the low water table. Required maintenance projects, we got Franklin School, the HVAC upgrades, district-wide LED lighting upgrades continue. The Board of Elections has added 2 additional schools as polling locations and installed a second ballot drop with cameras in place for security. And that's except for discussing the YMCA with the city, but nothing really has progressed yet. So we're still in limbo and hoping it goes our way. All right, and that's all I have.
All right, for HR, keep it short because we just always have amazing stuff happening here in the district. So with new hires, right, I always want to make note, just looking at the salary guide that we have coming in between, you know, different bilingual teachers, ESL teachers, math teachers, bio teachers, right? We have, I think starting salary is like $70,000, and I think the max one is topping off at like $110,000, which every month I just wonder if I need to give up this board position and just start applying to the district, right? You know, there's a lot of great opportunities here in district, and I always make sure people are aware of the opportunities. And I do want to take just a moment and highlight, because with the retirements, you know, I always talk about how many people and years they're here with the district, but I just want to take a moment and shout out, because I have a personal connection, all right? Brother Channing Conway, all right, who's retiring with 27 great years with the district. So I want to say thank you for your service all these many years, and I hope that Tier 1 treats you real well, brother. Oh, man. But as always, nope, let's turn that off. Just a great HR report, and I hope we can continue the work from this month until the next.
As a member of that committee, excuse me, sir, we have a retiree with 51 years. That needs to be acknowledged. I think it was Larry, right? Larry Parker retires 51 years.
I did not see it on said report. But absolutely amazing stuff, 100%.
Okay, so my report is very short. So we have, oh, you need to,
Nope,
No?
it was on the report.
It was on there? Okay.
It was on the thing. You got it. Thank you, Tyler.
so you all have before you 3 regulations, equal employment opportunity complaint procedures, sexual harassment regulations for staff, and internal controls. These are up for first reading. And I want to thank Superintendent Earl for standing in the gap last week, running the policy meeting, so I definitely appreciate you. And I just want to say thank you to Dr. Conway, who has stepped in and provided leadership and guidance and directing policy. I would just want to say actually thank you to Superintendent Earl, Dr. Conway, and the rock star himself, Mr. Roll down there. You guys provide, using your historical knowledge, you help explain the movement of the policies, the modifications, and how it works in the district, because I struggle a lot with being so black and white with policy, but you all share with me how important it is there's some gray here, and we need to look at that. So thank you so much for your leadership and guidance. I greatly appreciate it.
Okay, so I'm going to give the FACE report. The FACE committee met on April 22nd. We discussed food pantry. The board food pantry, for the month of March, we had 220 families, which is 732 adults, 490 children, impacting a total of 1,222 household members. We also discussed the Smith Family Foundation having their next meeting at Grant School, May 12th, with a direct discussion with principals to help identify how to maximize community support directly with their schools. We talked about March Madness attendance contests. It was a great success. Harrison, Grant, MLK were school winners. For the Parent Talk mini-series, there's going to be a focus on developing, fostering parent relationships to strengthen home-school connections. That's going to be for the month of April at Washington School. 24 parents are engaged. There's also going to be partnership with Catholic Charities on Tuesday, May 5th for the Parent Connect series, Art with a Purpose, from 5 to 7 at the board building. We also discussed 2026, 7, 27, 28 school calendars, which is in the agenda. And we discussed we actually have an increase in kindergarten registrations so far, so we have 371 students registered today. We also discussed strategic planning sessions. Please share the word out for that. We definitely want more community members to show up and support. We also discussed the Back to School Extravaganza, which is scheduled for Friday, April 28th, 2026. And we discussed the Apple Learning Cohort opportunity for professional staff, which we have a decent amount, really great amount signed up already. So that is the report for the FACE committee. Thank you.
Board discussion and action on consent agenda. I have a motion to approve. Proper moved and second. Any questions on it? Seeing no questions, roll call.
Joe Trueheart,
Yes.
Denise Johnson,
Yes.
Jean Bowie,
Yes.
Addie Daniels Lane,
Yes.
Austin Edwards,
Yes.
Yolanda Lopez.
Yes.
Larry Trailer,
Yes.
Feeny Weeklam.
Abstain everything, Grant.
Danelli De Leon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Board member comments? Any NJSBA updates? Addie? Okay.
Okay, so the Board of Directors for New Jersey School Boards met on the 27th, I believe, of March. They're offering new crisis communication service that's being made available to districts if there is a crisis, and then they will kind of guide you through certain procedures that you can follow and certain ways to handle certain crisis communication in terms of the public. There's also a free policy manual update program available. So we can reach out to them and, in fact, make use of their services. I know we have a relationship with Strauss Esme, I think, but they also offer guidance on the policy manuals. There's also a number of spring training programs coming up. One was Women's Leadership Conference, I believe that took place already, the Public Relations Forum coming up, the School Law Forum, and also a technology conference. Also of note is that the planning is just about complete for the New Jersey School Board's workshop for the fall from October the 19th to the 22nd, and I think registration has opened in terms of that. And also noted is that proposals for that particular workshop have closed. So I'm not sure if we were talking about, having our children. I don't know if that's a separate proposal, but for proposals, if you wanted to present, that particular portal is closed, but the other one for entertainment, we're going to research and see if that's still open, just to see what we can do there. And so basically that was the meeting that took place. We also had a discussion about insurance carriers, because New Jersey School Boards was having some challenges with their insurance carrier as well. So they're talking about different proposals in terms of different, reaching out to different insurance brokers to change their insurance programming. So everybody seems to be having challenges with that. So just wanted to share that. So that's that.
I thought I was giving the update on NJSBA, and Addie was giving the update for Mercer County. Since she's the VP, but I thought that was how we decided when this was added to the agenda. But I will say this: Delegate Assembly is scheduled for May 16th, I think. Delegate Assembly. So those who wish to participate, it is May 16th at Mercer County Community College.
So both our delegates will be attending, correct?
I'll be there as the voting.
Okay.
All right, so I basically gave the Board of Directors, and I think I'm the only one that attends the Board of Directors. So,
okay.
So I'm also, of course, in the a county officer.
Right.
But you all, everybody attends the county officer one, but I'm the only one that attends the Board of Directors.
I see.
That's the, yeah, okay.
So it's in the right order, Denise.
Okay.
Is it in the right order? Okay. So Mercer County, we are having a hybrid meeting scheduled for Thursday, May 14th at 6 o'clock. And this will actually take place at Crockett Middle School in Hamilton. There is a virtual option for people that want to attend at 6:45 p.m. And a few of us will be actually recognized during that county meeting. I think there are 4 of us at least that I'm aware of.
Oh, and also the Teacher of the Year, I believe, is from Kilmer.
Joyce Kilmer, yes.
Yes, okay, so she is being recognized at that particular celebration. I think she'll bring remarks. So certainly we want to be supportive of her.
And that's the 3rd year in a row that Trenton's gotten the Teacher of the Year.
Shakita Fennell, I think, right? Shakita Fennell, and she's special education teacher at Joyce Kilmer. Yep, okay.
Talk about it.
Okay, and that's all I have.
No, I have no updates from the Legislative Policy Committee for the school boards.
Oh, okay. Yolanda?
Yes, there were 2 meetings, April the 2nd, April the 14th. I was unable to attend the 14th.
Okay.
However, on the 2nd, we actually, prior to make a presentation on the dangers that we're having with the lithium batteries. They are causing havoc. These are really hard to extinguish fires when they start, one. And 2, before we properly store them. And most of the devices that are causing the problems are the e-bikes, scooters, laptops, even the vapes are also a problem.
Vapes?
Yes, yeah. And we have to be careful about the way we are disposed to them because we have had several fires, fire trucks, I mean, sanitation trucks.
Oh,
You know,
oh,
burning
right.
because
they press them.
and so the important thing for us is to know how our children are charging their devices for school. So I think that would be something that we can send to the parents about, you know, like, not charging them by because you can get severely burned if it was just thrown into their ear. So that was that basically was all.
That's good stuff. Good information throughout the committee reports. Any new business? Wait, excuse me?
You didn't go to board member comments yet?
I did, yeah. Did that.
See, it always gets missed.
Right now, wait a second now. If you-
Isn't it during the legislative when those guys give their
No, it's-
reports?
Oh,
But-
he's
but-
right, she's right.
Yeah, go ahead, make your comment.
Okay. I just want to thank people for showing up to strategic planning the other night. Having been in the last time we did strategic planning, there were some differences, and the major difference was the fact that the parents weren't there. There were a couple community people in that. I thought kind of too top-heavy with administration, because I think when we started this last time, we went out to the communities, we went to the schools that were in the communities, and the parents came. We had over 100 parents there. And I'm not exactly sure what routes we did. I know it fell heavily on the parent liaisons and reaching out to the parents directly in the schools, and they came. They were offered to bring their kids. They showed up, and they showed up to each and every one. And I think that's why this last strategic plan was so strong. And I think we need to go back and not just assume people are looking at our Facebook page, because they're not. We have to reach people where they are and get them out. And one of the things we had, I know the state doesn't like us buying food for people, but offering dinner and having childcare there for the families.
The major problem was that it was parent conference, yes.
Yeah, so, but in order for it to work.
We did have food for everybody.
And we did feed them,
Yeah, we
yeah.
had food for everybody. Yeah.
So-
That's what we do.
I think we need to look at that too.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, I could go next. So I got two acknowledgments. The first one is, I am so excited that so many of our teachers and staff want to take part in this Apple School Day with the technology, because they were afraid of think back, they were afraid of technology, and now they're engaged, and so that's a big deal. So kudos to them. And then the second one was, oh my God, that was one. This was a long night of stuff, and I'm so grateful that we function as committees, because we would be here till 3 in the morning with the volume of stuff that we're able to cover, because we function as committees. So kudos to everyone that we're doing it like that, because I'm just listening to the updates, right? And they're so deep, and they cover, such a vast, broad topic. So I really appreciate that we're still functioning like that, because it's our option, how we want to function. But I think it's so invaluable that we function by committee. That's it.
Okay. And if I might, certainly want to say congratulations to the Jefferson School community for a very well-rounded presentation. They had all the pieces in there, the speaking, the dancing, the research, the technology. So certainly a very well-rounded presentation. So just want to, for the record, say that was a great presentation, right? And that is worthy to be shared. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity to get that out to other school communities. My other comment is relative to this whole cell tower conversation. And so I know that we approved the lease of the land for that particular whatever, but hearing the concerns of the people, I don't know if that's something we can take a second look at or what. So I don't know exactly where we are in the process, and I certainly like apologize for that, but I would like to know kind of like where we are and what can we do to address whatever concerns that might be arising. So just to throw in, right? So
I agree with you, Addie, on that one. If we could look over it again, it would be good.
Yes, there are options the board can take to reconsider that. James, can you? We got two board members. Does any other board members want to reconsider it?
Yeah, so my question is,
Okay.
need more information. I think that when you look at a problem that's trying to solve,
Right.
it's a crucial problem. We got that. But I don't recall during our conversation, I went back and looked, where it was explicitly said where it would be placed. It said that we would be leasing land. It said it would be at the high school. But they gave some, just the feedback we got, they gave some parameters around what that looks like. And so I don't recall that discussion. I might have missed it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we had that part of this.
Because I even asked, so, oh, yeah, that makes sense. It's our land. That's my money part, but I didn't think about the other.
So anybody else? Do you want to reconsider or reopen that discussions and approval of that land lease and discuss the tower?
In light of the information that Ms. Harrison gave us, I would say yes, because she's the one that mostly
Okay, so
kind of convinced me.
Make a vote.
No, wait, he's got to, no, James, you got to explain how we go about doing that.
I'm not sure what we're doing.
We're talking about, we approved something on the agenda, was it last month? It was in December? It was December, so how do we go?
So what are we trying to do?
We're trying to perhaps reconsider that.
Okay, so does reconsider mean telling the vendor to stop working?
I don't, okay. I mean, we need to have that conversation, yes.
right, because I think we need to know, like where are we in the process, right? Is the
Okay.
tower halfway up? I don't know. Okay.
So they're doing preliminary work.
Oh, that's good. This is perfect time.
This site, they went and got, I want to say, city approval, planning board approval, I believe. So that was, the zoning board. So that was a conversation about the notice.
Hit your mic.
I'm sorry. So they went and got zoning board approval, and we haven't executed the lease yet. That's the next stage of the process, to execute the lease. Okay. All right.
So maybe not approve any leases until our questions are answered.
So what exactly are our questions?
So is there?
I
Health
I
impact.
will.
We gotta see the scope of work before we have questions.
Hold on, here, let's manage.
I was going to say I will have some legal questions, so it might be better asked in executive session.
We can't do an executive session tonight, but we
Okay,
can certainly
well.
take it to committee.
All right, cool.
You can have it, can you call an ad hoc committee for facilities? Not ad hoc, but can you call a meeting to have a conversation prior to your next board meeting, prior to your next committee meeting? Like probably sometime either this week or early next week to discuss it.
Well, and include the city because they're the ones.
Well, we have to discuss
This
as a
is the-
board, I would think, first, with the general counsel first in discussion. And then we can talk about in the committee how you want to go about talking to the city and approach this strategically, how you want to approach it with other members of the community.
So was there, or is there a timeline for that particular piece, right? I mean, did the cell tower need to be up by, and I'm just making this up, by May 30th? Is there a timeline of events that needed to take place and so on and so forth?
So the proposal proposed the timeline by which the project would be finished, but I do not know the impact on cell service in the area if it's not put up by a certain date. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. And so then my other question is like, all that land that's being cleared from the, St. Francis, whatever they were calling it, St. Francis Hospital, and even their parking lot, which is just sitting there to the left of on Hamilton Avenue.
Yes.
that's free land. It's not necessarily right on top of the schools, not on top of the school. And it's probably distant from the community. If you sit it on the edge, it's closer to where the hospital actually was. Well, almost was. So I just don't know why it had to be on the school site when it could have been in their parking lot, right? Somewhere in the parking lot. They had helicopters landing on the top of St. Francis. They had that tower, but now you have a whole parking lot that's not being used, and then the hospital is gone. So if you, I don't know, it just seems like a better spot, but I don't know the technicalities and all that kind of stuff,
So
right?
that is a question I
let me
can
shut
go
up.
get an answer to. I can go get an answer to that quick question. Yeah, that's a great question. I can get an answer to that one. I don't know it, but I can get it.
Yeah.
Also, we need to make it clear to the public that we have nothing to do with zoning. So when, that's the only thing that we can own is if we lease the land to them or not. But the zoning and the footage away from it, we have no control over that.
Yes.
Is that everything? So we know what we're going to do
So we're
now.
not going to move forward with the lease until we have some further meetings. Okay, I'll inform the vendor.
Yep.
So and you'll be able to do a committee meeting?
Further meetings with what? What are we looking at? Are we looking at the scope as it stands?
I would imagine. I mean, I think I had a chance to meet with them today to hear the concerns. So what you were able to listen to, I heard, and the vendor was able to talk about some of the concerns and address some of the questions that I think Steph had. So I think this is simply, if we stop it, because there was a bit more information about the urgency to remove it, because they're going to tear it down and they need to have it removed. I don't know if he has access to put it up there. So I think we have to decide when we move away from this, because he has a short timeline to move it, he's going to move because he needs to have a place to put that. Now, that's not our rush, right? Yeah. I just want to make sure that's out there, because he talked about that today, that was, that his sense of urgency to move, which is not necessarily ours. I mean, it's not something we have to own. I'm just telling it as it was shared today, because they've been informed that that's kind of the last phase before they tear everything else down. And so they need to get that moved. And so the goal was to try to move that soon. So they started some preliminary work to move that.
Exactly, it's the city's deal.
And a question, the $40,000, is that like a monthly?
Yes. No, it's annual.
I'm sorry?
It's annual, yearly.
Annual,
Yeah,
okay.
yearly.
So 40.
So, yeah, and if you divide that by, and that's the projected amount. I mean, we did it. Yeah, we did a cost analysis that they did. So, yeah. A year. Yeah. The goal would be to have it allocated to the student activities accounts, and they could use it for students. But that's, I mean, I think, we get the information you need.
Is everybody clear? Everybody good?
Are we still taking board member comments?
We do have, we're actually on new business, but we have any new business that you want to talk about, we can talk about.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, I had a question for Jane earlier for her presentation. When it comes to the increase in the health insurance, the percentages, I wanted to know, like, what was our increase this year when it comes to the health insurance?
It was between 31 and 34%. Yeah, so it went up tremendously, almost tripled what we were paying prior. And we are out there in the market trying to find other companies, but because of our utilization rate and our experience rate, it's very hard for someone to want to insure us.
Tell the truth.
But that's the truth.
Tell the truth and shame the devil.
But we've been denied. I want to say that.
Sorry, y'all.
We've been denied many times, so, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
I didn't want to say that. Yes, we have been.
Who absorbed those increases? Was it the district instead of the employees? Yeah.
Well, most is by the
Okay.
I'm trying here.
Huh?
You have any more?
Oh, no, I was just going to let the board know that the Trenton Literacy Movement is hosting a graduation for 250 students at Mott Elementary on May 19th. I know we have our, strategic planning meeting, but that's from 4 to 6. So just want to flag that for everybody. 250 students. Yes.
Amen. Not quite done yet. I do have one final comment though. If everyone's finished. Folks, I'm not trying to limit your conversation, right? So I've had complaints about long meetings, so I'm just making sure that I'm trying to manage that time and manage the expectations, and certainly not trying to limit your conversation. I can stay here till 12 midnight. We have to on conversation. I'm open to it. I plan to be here every board meeting as long as it takes to get things done and have conversation. So I wanted to make that clear. I wasn't trying to stop time. I wasn't trying to be 5 minutes on people and stop people from having conversations, but I was just trying to manage the expectation of folks being respectful of time, people's expectations of that. So that's why, but I won't do that again. I'll leave it open so folks can have conversation. I've learned that today. Thank you so much. I've learned that. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? All right, executive session. Whereas the Open Public Meeting Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting under certain circumstances, and any pending or anticipated litigation or contract negotiations, any matters falling within the attorney-client privilege to the extent that confidentiality is required to preserve the attorney-client relationship, matters captioned, tenure charges in the matter of SB, settlement in the matter of EK, settlement in the matter of LC. Now therefore be it resolved that an executive session will be held on April 27th, 2026 for the statutorily admissible purposes indicated in this resolution. Be therefore resolved that action may be taken by the board when it reconvenes in open session. Be it finally resolved that the minutes of the executive session with regard to the above subject matter shall be disclosed to the public at a later date, and to the extent that the same is not prejudicial to the interests of the parties involved, no longer adverse to the public interest, or does not endanger any individual right to privacy. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Probably first and second. May I have a roll call vote?
Gerald Trueheart,
Yes.
Denise Johnson,
Yes.
Jean Bowie,
Yes.
Addie Daniels-Lane,
Yes.
Austin Edwards.
Yes.
Yolanda Lopez.
Yes.
Larry Trailer.
Yes.
Jeannie Weeklam.
Yes.
Danelli De Leon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Adjourn to
Adjourn to
executive.
exec session.